Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Economic Development and Culture Committee meeting. It is January 16, 2024. Right now it is 6:32. We're just waiting for quorum to begin. Thank you for your patience.
Certainly. April Autry,
Present.
Mark Bukirski, Brandon Gillespie, Christina Johnson, Sharon Lynch,
Present.
Giselle Malave,
Present.
Alicia Miranda, Jessica Morris, Eugene Rodriguez, Vinny Torres,
Present.
Chomsky, Anne Marie Vasquez, Jathan Wu. We do not have quorum.
Thank you.
So do we need to go into a short recess until we attain quorum? We just ask our guests to do patience.
And we can begin. We have Chief One. Thank you everyone for your patience.
Mark Bukirski is participating remotely and Jenny Traction.
This meeting is called to order at 6:36. No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. To raise your hand through Zoom, click the participants icon and you will find the raise hand function below. If you have technical difficulty, click the chat icon and relay your difficulty to the staff. Members should not engage in a back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. The chat should not be used for CB11 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on record when recognized. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Roll call on the room. Okay, fashion of each. So prior to tonight's meeting, we've received the agenda. If there are no objections, we can keep that. Seeing none. Approval of meeting minutes. If there are no objections, we approve the committee's minutes for last week. Seeing none. Announcements. Any announcements? No. Okay, first on our agenda, we have our informational updates. Are there any organizations from our business development organizations that would like to present this?
Hi, Giselle. This is Carrie. I'm happy to give a few updates.
Hi, Carrie, thank you.
Can you guys hear me okay? It's kind of choppy for some reason, but maybe it's just me.
It's just you.
Oh, okay, great. That's good news. So everybody, I'm Carrie King from Uptown Grand Central. We work with small businesses. Our catchment area is specifically East 125th Street between 5th and the river. And we also work with small businesses across East Harlem. The updates are from us are that the winter lights along East 125th Street are glowing. They're beautiful. They're going to be up through the end of February. All the trees that are wrapped, and it adds a lot of light to that particular corridor, which, as you guys know, is needed for safety and security, in addition to festivity. So those are going to be up to the end of February. Our clean team is going all winter long. Our farmers market at 125th and Park is going all winter long. Thanks to Community Board 11, we've been able to do some free vegetable giveaway last week, this week, to customers with SNAP with EBT benefits. So thank you, Community Board 11. We've been reaching out to various buildings, NYCHA properties, to have more people come and access the free food over the winter when a lot of the farm stands are not running. And then also in terms of activities, I just wanted to highlight that today is the start of New York Restaurant Week. And this year we have 13 small businesses from East Harlem participating. In the past, I don't know if you guys know this, but generally it costs a lot of money to participate in New York Restaurant Week, the one that is citywide. It can cost anywhere between $500 and $1,200 to participate. And since COVID, the New York City Tourism, used to be New York City Go, now it's New York City Tourism, has offered a limited number of enrollments to businesses in Upper Manhattan for free. So we've made a really big push over the past couple years to get our businesses in and make sure they know about it. I'm dropping in the chat a link to the 13 businesses. I've isolated them specifically to the businesses that in East Harlem you can support. This year it includes the Good Good, which is a new business on Park Avenue around 119th Street. It's kind of hidden. It's a little kind of speakeasy. It's right up the street from Community Board 11. So y'all can all leave this meeting and go there, as well as a bunch of other really great restaurants to support. So please support them over the next few weeks. And also we're doing hot chocolate rides. So we normally do hot chocolate rides with El Barrio Bikes, which is an advocacy group founded out of the health department that works to get people in East Harlem biking. And we usually do them in December, but we got snowed and rained out. So we're doing them in January. And we've got 2 more rides. They're on Sundays. You join, we give you a free city bike, thanks to City Bike, and a helmet. And then you join and visit different businesses in the neighborhood and try the hot chocolate. So I'll drop that link in the chat too. But thank you guys so much for supporting small business and come join us for this. The last thing I'll say is mark your calendars. We are in the midst, most of you guys who've been on this meeting know we're in the midst of a bid development for East 125th Street area. BID is Business Improvement District. And once you have a Business Improvement District, it means that the property owners in the area are contributing to things like street cleaning, public safety, all the things that we want for East 125th. So on February 8th and February 27th, and I'll send this to Angel as well, there's going to be 2 public meetings. The public meetings are really specifically for people that are in the catchment, which means they're actually in, and I'll drop this link in the chat too, in the green map. So people that live and work in these particular properties that are going to be included in the Business Improvement District. But we're going to have these 2 meetings at the Caribbean Cultural Center. So if you have questions, if you're in the district and you have questions, come out and we will be there to answer them. Thus far, we're getting really good reception. We have more than 50% support so far and are getting more and more support letters every week. So I'll drop some links in the chat and thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much for your updates, Carrie. Anyone else from our, any questions for Carrie? Does anyone have any questions for Carrie? Okay, thank you again. Anyone else from our business development organizations that would like to present?
Michelle from Union Settlement had written before that she wasn't available this evening.
Okay. We will now move on to our workforce development organizations. If you have anyone online that would like to present. Okay. Anyone from our arts and culture organizations? Yes, we have some.
Rolinda's on from PS109.
And Gabriela Gonzalez from Acacia Network as well.
Yeah, I can say hello, and I'm Rolinda Ramos from El Barrio's Art Space, PS109. Thank you for inviting me, long overdue. So what can I say about PS 109? We're in our 9th year, believe it or not, of operations. We just made our 9th year in December. Hard to believe that we're approaching our 10th year anniversary next year. I think that we have been meeting, the intention of the project. We've been providing rich arts and cultural programming on a monthly basis for the community. People from other states and other boroughs are coming to join us for the programming on a regular basis. A lot of local artists have been able to showcase and perform. I don't know if anybody has any specific questions as to how we operate or anything that's taking place, but I'm happy to answer questions. Other than that, you can follow us on Instagram. You can subscribe to our mailing list. We have a monthly list of programming that takes place. Anything specific anybody would like to know?
Hi, I'm Anne Marie Vasquez. My question is, if a community board organization would like to rent a space, how do you go about doing that? Because it's been a little difficult. This is the art space, right?
Yeah, but you have two spaces you can rent. You have the community room and you have theater.
The community room.
Okay.
Either one, community room or theater.
Yeah, you can, did you said you attempted to rent the place?
No, she's just inquiring
Yeah,
about.
inquiring about it.
Well, you can stop by. We have an office in the main lobby. You can send me an email specifically. I can write my email address in the chat. And you can send me an email directly and you can inquire about the spaces. We have a black box theater that rents. We have a dance studio that rents. And then the community space is a different kind of space. It's more of a curated space. We do not rent for any personal celebratory functions. It's arts and culture only. And of course, to support, mission-driven work for local not-for-profit organizations.
Nice.
Great, thank you so much, Rolinda, for presenting. Vinny, you have a question?
Well, Lynn, thank you so much for that information. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of the up and coming events at Art Space, either at the Black Box Theater or at the other spaces? that
Yeah.
you guys- some of the exhibits,
Well,
maybe?
Yeah, so you missed a run of an amazing theater production that was playing last week, Las Siete Mujeres Asesinas or something like that. It was a comedy, 7 women murderers. So we've been
Sounds like my thing.
just to say that we've been really becoming, like the home for these small theater organizations that are presenting their work here. So I would encourage everyone, when I share my email, to please, write me and let me know if you want to be on the event blast list so that I could keep you abreast of the things that are taking place. But I guess I can share first the ongoing programming. Every first Friday of the month, we have the Salsa Social, which takes place on the first Friday. That's been ongoing for, I think we're like in our 7th year of that, maybe even 8. And it feels like a big reunion every first Friday of the month. It's just a lot of locals, and it's a nice party. So you guys, if you're into salsa, you should join us. So that takes place every month. We have every Thursday we have tango classes, and then a practice milonga afterward, and that's actually by donation. So it's very affordable. If also people who can't afford to pay anything are welcome to come. That takes place every Thursday beginning at 6. We do have flamenco classes. You can also inquire via email with that. I can link you to the person. And if you sign up for our e-blast, you'll get all that information. But as far as ongoing programming, we have the Shakespeare workshops that also take place. They teach a theater as well, using the Shakespearean format. And then different things take place throughout the year depending on the proposals that come in. So people that want to showcase or conduct a workshop or anything educational can submit a proposal. And then, more than likely, we can coordinate that depending on availability in the spaces that are being requested. But it's a series of different events. I would just recommend that you subscribe to the event blast, and we can better keep you abreast that way.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there a photo of your spaces, your community space and your theater online anywhere?
Yeah, I'm sure you'll find it. You'll see if I don't, we don't advertise the space as I don't. In other words, I don't have a rental ad. Most of the spaces are I like to say that it's programmed and it's curated. Collaborations take place in those spaces, but yes, the Black Box Theater and Dance Studio are indeed, rentable spaces, and we could, upon your inquiry, we can send you dimensions and photos of the space if you like.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mark Bogorski has a question.
Yeah, so thank you, Rolinda, for coming and presenting. Can you hear me?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so when we met last month, there was a lot of uncertainty about how one even found out about events that were happening at the art space, and there was a lot of mystery about it among people who've lived in the neighborhood for a long time. And it seemed, I haven't lived in the neighborhood for a long time, but it seemed as if there's some missing element of outreach because so many people were unaware of what all the stuff that's going on. And you're talking about an e-blast, but I just went on your website and there's no way to get access to this e-blast that I can find on your website. So is this meant to be a little less obvious how one actually finds out all this information? I mean, it shouldn't require us to send you an email at a community board meeting to be able to find out what's happening. There's no calendar online.
We also have social media links, Instagram. There's a Facebook page. We have an open door policy. You can come by. We do not have a website for PS109 per se. If you go into the ArtSpace website, you'll find a link that takes you directly to the PS109 site, Facebook page, and you can also get your update that way.
So I guess for those of us who aren't all that savvy or you are on social media very often, that's why we're missing most of this.
Right. So what is your recommendation if you're not social media savvy or online?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It sounds like you got a lot of great things going on. It just seems that the more people know about it, the better, right? So
yes. When I first presented a couple of years ago, it was fairly new still. And so we were just kind of, getting on the ground as far as programming. So I think the best way is, come on by. I mean, we don't have anything as far as a tangible calendar, but
well, that would be one of the things I might suggest. Like tangible calendar might actually be helpful. Well, electronic calendar, not tangible one.
Well, if you're not social media savvy, then I'm not sure how you would access a digital calendar. If that's the case, if you're able to do that, then I can definitely send you the link for the e-blast.
Okay, well, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Rolinda. Again, I do have some questions. So, and your name is Rolinda, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So one of our goals as a committee, especially this year, is we want to focus on the arts and culture in East Harlem. And we want to help activate in some way. I mean, we have a lot of great organizations like Union Settlement and Uptown Grand Central that, already highlight a lot of our arts and culture already. But we are economic development and culture. So number one, we'd like to invite you to our monthly meetings so that you can keep us abreast of, all of the great things that you have going on. The more people hear about you, the more people see you, the better they can support your programming, and these great programs can be around for much longer. And then as a committee as well, we just want to keep more in touch and hopefully bring more support for East Harlem and its culture and its arts. Eugene Rodriguez is a member on our committee, and He's also very much into the arts, so we will be soon, discussing naming East Harlem as a cultural district, and we would love for you to be a part of the conversation.
Thank you for that. I just want to say that we do attend the East Settlement meetings, and we do cross promotion for their events as well, and they promote ours as well. So that's already happening. My assistant attends those meetings, and she's been doing the cross promotion with them. So that's taking place, and we're really grateful for that. And thank you for your offer. I'm really excited about East Harlem and it becoming a cultural district. And I too want to extend myself and PS 109 to partake in any way that we can. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have any of our arts and culture organizations that would like to present this month?
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, we can.
She has a special. That's,
I'm-
actually, that's Gabrielle Gonzalez.
Is that Gabriela?
Yes, yes. Can you all hear me okay?
We have you carved out later on in the meeting, so we definitely have you on our agenda.
Oh, okay. I thought we were under the cultural section. Okay, perfect. No problem.
No worries.
Angel, the cultural section.
Angel?
Second part.
That's it.
Can I recognize her?
It's just, I'm Alexis Marnell from Classical Theater of Harlem.
Oh, okay.
And I will ask you to put on the agenda later on as we get closer for our production at Marcus Garden Park. But I did want to invite everybody from CB11. We are launching during the pandemic, we did this podcast called Icons. And it celebrated the lesser known figures of the Harlem Renaissance. Well, at the end of January, we will be launching Icons 2, called El Barrio Lives. And this, on January 29th, from 7 to 9 at the gallery space, the Noma Gallery space at the United Palace Theater, we're going to have a live version of some of the monologues that were written. So I wanted to invite anybody who might be interested to go to Classical Theater of Harlem website and let's how you want to go.
When did you say?
It's January 29th, 7 to 9. It's going to be with United Palace, but it's going to be in the NOMA, the Northern Manhattan Arts Alliance gallery space. And the actors that are going to be there, I'm going to be Carrie Young, who's been nominated for several Tonys. Right now, she's on Broadway in Pearly Victorious. And Reynaldo Piniella, who's in Thoughts of a Colored Man, along with many others. And Hiram Delgado, who was on the show New Amsterdam. They all have quite more. There's much more to their resumes than that.
Great, that's wonderful. So you said January 20th from 7 to 9.
29th.
What's the address for the gallery space?
Let me check on that. I just know that I go there, but I never really.
That's pretty good.
I'm like, yeah, no, the gallery's there. But it's. So give it, let's see what's the second.
Is it 175th?
You have to go to, let me just,
What's the address on the website? 4140 Broadway?
Yeah,
At
yeah,
170.
yeah, and you go through, you don't go through the lobby entrance to the United Palace, you'll go on the side entrance into the gallery.
I would suggest you send us whatever
I am.
advertising to the community board,
Yes, that's
because they
right.
have a month or every 2 weeks, right?
Weekly.
Weekly newsletter, where a lot of people get their information.
Yeah, I will send
Especially
that.
for
Thank you so
for
much.
arts.
And you said 401.
4140.
Is it been happening?
No, but we will be honoring once again on Paper Hour.
Yeah.
Is there a fee for the,
Absolutely free.
that?
classical theater of Harlem, like we do for or we're doing Uptown Shakespeare in the Park. We do it. And, like I said, I'll come back, but this year we're doing Midsummer Night's Dream set during the Harlem Renaissance. Nice call. And we're gonna be the only game in town because the theater is being renovated.
$80 million.
Nice. Thank you so much. Okay,
Thank you.
thank
40
you.
million in that, you know.
We will be moving on. Thank you so much for your updates. We will be moving on to our presentation and discussions portion of the meeting. The agenda. Okay, under our small business spotlight, we have Sage Workplace, Mutsa Tunduwani. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. My name is Tapua Tunduwani, and this is my wife, Francisca Mutsa Tunduwani. And thank you for the opportunity to be with you tonight and to introduce our workspace, which we just recently launched on 152 East 118th Street, about 3 minutes away from here. It's a fairly small location. We have a couple of private meeting rooms and a conference space. And this is actually our second location. We have been operating a shared workspace in Midtown at 276 Fifth Avenue between 29th and 30th since 2010. And we're really excited to be welcomed to the East Harlem community and to be part of the growth of this community. As some of you may know, most shared workspaces went through a pretty difficult time during COVID, and we're fortunate enough to work through that. And we've got a very loyal community of entrepreneurs that we've developed relationships with over the years. And our hope is to do the same in this community. And the services that we offer are primarily virtual offices for startups that are looking for a business address to establish their office and to grow their business and have somewhere professional, somewhere quiet to work or to host social events. We also support especially entrepreneurs with online marketing, because in as much as it's important to have a physical street address and presence, I know a lot of people now are working from home, but it's still important to be able to have a separate private and professional business address, and equally important today to have an online presence. So one of the key services that we offer our clients is online marketing, either through social media optimization or search engine optimization, and web development and whatever else goes into establishing your online presence. And the third service that we provide is obviously, like I said earlier, meeting rooms. And really our focus is primarily for on-demand use. And we've seen that grow, especially post-COVID, with a lot of people working remotely and needing to have access to a meeting room for a couple of hours or for a day or for a week. We certainly do offer longer term flexible spaces, especially in Midtown. And we find that most of our clients are strictly on demand, including some of the larger clients who have maybe project teams coming in for a couple of weeks, and they move and then they go on to the next location. The final service that I wanted to share with you that we are developing as an organization is actually adding partner locations and creating marketplace. I think it was interesting listening to the art center, and those are the kind of venues that we're working with to list them on our website. So that when you do want to book a meeting space or an event space, you are able to go to our website, sageworkspace.com, and put in, the requirements, the time that you want to book, the number of seats and the setup and the dates, and find a location that meets your needs and is available. And all this is integrated with event calendars so that you are able to actually see in real time what the availability is. We have about 4 locations in New York, and we are looking to develop that, especially in the city. And outside of New York, we now have about, I'd say 50 partners in the US and about 3 or 4 in Canada. And we're looking to expand that so that as people continue to work remotely, they're able to find somewhere to work or to host events as close to them as possible. We'll leave our business cards at the exit. If you'd like to get in touch, pop in for a tour, and for us just to get to know you. And we're really, like I said, excited for this opportunity to be part of what all you folks have been doing for a good long time. And I think with that, I'll stop and take any questions. I think my wife knows more about what we're doing than I do. So I'll let her answer that. She basically runs our operations.
So sit down.
I can ramble on. So thank you for the time.
Thank you. We have a couple of questions already. Regina.
I just want to know what the address is and where.
Oh, yeah.
This location is 150 Street.
Where?
Where happening?
Between Lexington and Third Avenue.
Okay.
152,
East 180.
East 180.
Yeah,
They're 2 blocks away.
it's like the restaurant, the Thai restaurant and the workplace.
Yeah.
Zakula, you have hours of operation, or people schedule the hours and that's, you open according to what you have scheduled?
So we have hours of operation, but we have availability after hours. So if you book after hours, you can have access and use of the space.
Are you guys always there?
No, I think we are there from 9 to 5, but we allow use, as long as it's a registered member with us, you can access the space.
No, what I meant was, are you guys always there? Because if we want to go and tour as a committee and see your space.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
it's available.
yeah.
You could just email and schedule a time or call, then, we can both be available to take you around. Yeah.
So we have 3 staff in Midtown and we have 2 in East Harlem. So there's somebody with it.
What is your email?
Give you a business card.
So you can also state it on the record in case anyone who's logging in remotely would like to.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
It's info@sageworkspace.com.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? Oh, Betty?
Thank you for that presentation. So, for the virtual office that you guys provide, do you guys also have, for the entrepreneurs, physical mailing that can be received at the location?
Yeah, that's actually one of the essential services we provide for virtual office, mail service and receipt of packages. And actually added to the mail service, we offer scanning if you're like remote and you need the mail open and scanned. We can also forward the mail if you're not in the city or you don't want to.
Nice. Can you tell me how much square footage you have there and run me and just give a quick overview of your membership fee schedule? What would like a basic charge look for someone just on like your lowest plan and to like your highest plan? And that's being offered, and tell us, do you have multiple conference rooms at this location, or is it just one?
So we have 4 levels for the virtual plans, as they start at $49.99 a month. But we offer discounts if you pay in advance for the service, then if you pay for 6 months, for example, we can give you a 4% discount. Or if you pay annually, then you get a month off. And then they go all the way up to 199.
149.
149.
149 is where you've got online services, online marketing services and so on. And the workspace in Midtown is about 2,500 square feet.
Okay.
And we have 9 meeting rooms.
Mhm.
The smallest one is like just for one person to have a private
One-on-one.
one-on-one.
Mhm.
And the largest one is for 12 people, about 300 square feet.
Mhm.
And like I said, at this location, we have 3 meeting rooms. But really, our focus is to add locations in New York City and across the US. So
Nice.
that, if you have a much larger event, you are able to book spaces that, these are just the spaces that we own and operate directly. But you'll find that if you go to the website, there's several other locations that are managed by our partner.
Got it. And I was gonna ask one more question, Chair. So on that, network that you guys doing great work, cause I know for a fact that these type of opportunities have allowed formerly new entrepreneurs and entities to kind of have a place to kind of kick off and start up. And, of course, as many new startups, some have much success, some have no success, some have some success. Do you track all those, or at least have some type of tracking of those that have come on board and have then, have catapulted, like, can you tell us one of your customers that today is, Fortune 500? Or do you even have that, do you guys have that, data that information at all? It's just no information on that whatsoever.
We actually have clients who signed up with us from when we started, who are still with us now from 2010. So we kind of try, we have all these accounts online through our CRM, so we can track. But one of the things we're hoping to do now, which we did a little bit in Midtown location, is to have community events where we invite, our clients to come and network. And I know you're talking about businesses that, struggle, everybody's struggling, because of the way the economy is right now. But we're hoping to offer more support to those who, may be struggling after they sign on and, can offer probably deeper discounts and more, business support in terms of advising them what they can do to sustain the business, where they can get help with financing and things like that.
Awesome.
I just wanted to add that, we're a small business ourselves.
Sure.
But we've had several clients, like you said, going through tough times that we have continued with as clients. We haven't done any scientific tracking, which would be really great to do. But, our focus has been to support, especially minority businesses, as a minority business ourselves.
Nice.
And, our Midtown location was kind of by accident, but I think one of the things we're most proud about is that we're in a building where we are able to get minority businesses to set up where they wouldn't otherwise have been able to.
Mm-hmm.
But I think our greatest pride, honestly, is being in Harlem.
Good for you.
And I can't tell you how excited we are for the opportunity to be helping, like-minded entrepreneurs and professionals. And we've had IBM and Accenture book meetings and so on. That's all well and good, but we're really excited about growth and helping people like us grow. And this committee is economic development, and that is what our mission is. So
awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming to our meeting. We hope to see you continuously throughout our meetings. I do encourage to connect with other organizations in East Harlem that obviously have been around for much longer and just start networking and spreading the word of Sage Workspace.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll give you my number.
Okay, we are going, are there any other questions? Yeah, Alexis has a question.
So, you, so when we're in Marcus Garvey, we really need a place for, the month of July. Like just either office space or a place where we can have meetings, or even when I start meeting with community partners.
Yes.
You know, we could rent a meeting room there. And perhaps then, when we get to the space where I'm saying, you know, when we're doing our community activations, perhaps some of the businesses that are utilizing your space, or even you can table, at the, at our Marcus Garvey, you know, July event, which goes for 3.5 weeks.
That's great, Eugene.
Yeah, I suggest you get in touch with Michelle at Union Settlement.
Yeah.
You know her?
Yes.
Yeah, because she's been working very closely with young business people. They might be able to, you know, send you.
Great, thank you, guys. We will now move on to Borinquen Neighborhood Health. Dr. Adam Aponte, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you so much. This is my first time attending this committee, so thank you for allowing me to present. So as mentioned, I am Dr. Adam Aponte. I am the new Chief Executive Officer for what's really the East Harlem Council for Human Services. Many people don't know our corporate name, but we're actually the East Harlem Council for Human Services. And under that umbrella, we operate several organizations, including what most people know as the Borinquen Neighborhood Health Center, located on the corner of 123rd and 3rd Avenue. This health center has been in existence for 50 years now. Actually, this year we have our 50th anniversary as a health center. The council, however, has been around for close to 60 years. Next year, we'll hit our 60th anniversary as a council, a grassroots effort that was created, 60 years ago by individuals in the community, really looking to address the social issues that they face. So focused a lot on social issues, hence the name. And one of our first programs actually that still exists today is our East Harlem Bilingual Head Start program, currently located on 116th Street, Mount Carmel Church, school there. And then we have a site on 111th Street in Madison Avenue. And then the health centers on 123rd and 3rd. And just to sort of round out all our programming, we also have school-based health centers located in PS 155, PS 7, 206, and 112. So, that's us. I am, as I mentioned, the newly appointed Chief Executive Officer. I've been serving as the Chief Medical Officer for the last 3.5 years. By way of background, I am an East Harlem resident, born and raised in the barrio on 97th Street between Park and Madison, as Anne-Marie likes to refer to as Upper East Harlem, but East Harlem, no doubt. And actually went to medical school right there at Mount Sinai. And I'm a pediatrician by training, and just have dedicated my life work to really working in underserved communities, and feel very honored to be back in my neighborhood serving in this capacity. And it's just, I'll just tell you a little bit about the health center, because I think that while we've been here for almost 50 years, I think a lot of folks still don't know exactly what we do. We're considered a federally qualified health center. FQHC is the acronym that we use. We're funded by HRSA. And we're located, when I say we, FQHCs are located in neighborhoods that have high need and demand. And East Harlem is certainly one of those neighborhoods. And to evidence that, in East Harlem, in 1 square mile, there are actually 3 separate FQHCs, which is very, very unusual, right? So you have us on 123rd and 3rd, you have Settlement Health on 106, just off 3rd Avenue, and then you have the Institute for Family Health over on 119th Street and Madison Avenue. And typically HRSA would not allow 3 FQHCs, distinct FQHCs, to be in that same area, but because the needs in East Harlem are so tremendous, which I think you all know, you guys live in this community, work in this community, so you understand this, they have allowed the 3 of us to exist, and yet we still have issues of access to quality, high quality primary care services in this community. So we lend our hand towards that. We provide primary care services, and I describe it from womb to tomb. So everything from prenatal care all the way through the life cycle, pediatric medicine, adult medicine, behavioral health services, care management. We have pharmacy services on site. We have a robust dental services, including an oral surgeon. And then we've attracted certain specialists based upon the needs of this community. So for those of you who know East Harlem, we know that there's a high burden of diabetes in our community, a high burden of cardiovascular disease, asthma. And so because of those illnesses, we have attracted some specialists, which typically, again, our focus is primary care. But because we want to improve access to healthcare and make sure that patients have an easier way of navigating this very complicated healthcare system of ours, which, by the way, it's complicated regardless of your educational attainment, right? Health literacy has nothing to do with your educational attainment. It's just that the healthcare system that we have is broken, quite frankly. And it's very challenging for folks to navigate, particularly individuals who come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, first-time immigrants, don't speak the language, et cetera. And so we have brought on some specialties, cardiology, we have podiatry, we have optometry, we have a nutritionist in our sites as well. We have a podiatrist. We do a lot of work in outreach in the community. As for those of you who don't know, Anne Marie is one of my staff members, and she has been instrumental at ensuring that we do a lot of outreach and education in the community. And this is a new era for us at Borinquen. We really are sort of trying to think about what do we need to do for the next 60 years to improve the healthcare of this community. While we've moved the needle a little bit for certain individuals in the community, we serve about 12,000 individuals in East Harlem of all ages. We know that there's more to be done. We still know that people in our community are suffering disproportionately from these health disparities that are described all too often in the media. And what do we need to do collectively? And so one of my focus for the health center as I take over leadership there is to collaborate as much as possible with our community partners and focus on whole person care and what we call population health, right? We do a great job of taking care of an individual and assessing them and sort of treating them. But how do we improve the population of East Harlem? How do we improve the entire community? And while healthcare is a part of that and a large part of that, I think many of you are familiar with the term social determinants of health, a term that I really don't like because as a kid from East Harlem, we know that words are very, very powerful. And when you say determinants to a young person in East Harlem, it denotes an inevitability that this is what's going to happen to them regardless, right? That there's no way around this. You are going to suffer these issues because of the fact that you were born in this community. And I'm evidence that that's not true, right? I was born in East Harlem, faced all the social issues or influences, as I like to describe, that we often talked about in terms of poverty, food insecurity, crime rates, poor school systems, poor housing, et cetera, et cetera. So we can overcome that. But as a health center, there's only so much we can do in that regard. And I know that, for example, housing, right? How do you tell someone to take care of themselves when they have no place to lay their head? So that's really, really critical for us to partner with folks who provide housing to patients, partner with folks who provide food to patients, although we've done some of that, clothing, resources, care management. So those are some of the things that we're going to be looking to do with all our partners in East Harlem. We have an extensive list of linkage agreements that we've established. And my intention is to visit these places, have a dialogue with individuals about what we can do to really move the needle substantially in terms of the healthcare of this community, and work closer with our hospitals, hold them responsible for what they need to do as well. I can say this, I went to Mount Sinai, I did my residency at Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai has been an interesting partner, but they're not always consistently there for us, to be honest with you. And it's something that we need to sort of continue to hold their feet to the fire. Metropolitan has been improving over new leadership over the last several years. So we're looking forward to their partnerships. And then we welcome others who want to help us. Recently, I had a visit from individuals from Northwell Health. Northwell Health has no assets in our community. Their closest hospital is Lenox Hill Hospital, but they're asking how they can help us to do our job. And they're asking the question, you're not telling us what we need, because people come into our community too often and say, this is what you need. Ask us the question, we know what we need, and we'll tell you what we need. And if you can help us, great. And so they're starting to offer services, and my loyalties are to anyone who wants to help us with our mission. So I'm, again, excited to be a part of this, excited to participate in your discussions here to see how we can collaborate. Arts is therapeutic. I heard a lot about the arts here, right? That's a very therapeutic thing as well, right? And so there's a lot of ways for us to collaborate, even though we traditionally may not collaborate. And all too often, organizations like ours have operated in silos, and that needs to stop today. We really need to work as a collaborative if we're really going to improve the health of this community. So happy to answer any questions you may have about our organization, some of the things that we're focusing on. Oh, by the way, I failed to mention, we have a senior nutrition program at Casabe. My bad. That is another one of our programs that have been in existence for quite some time now. And so those are all the programs under the council. Again, really happy to be here joining you this evening. Happy to answer any questions and looking forward to meeting many of you on this call to see how we can collaborate. Carrie and I had a discussion a couple of months ago, or it seems like a while ago, Carrie. You know, we want to be in that bid. So you need to extend that line and draw that line a little lower because we want to be in part of that business improvement district as well. I think that we have a lot to offer there, and we want to make sure that we, what's sad, and I'll close on this note, is that my father worked in East Harlem on 126th and 3rd Avenue, the social service agency there for over 25 years. It's kind of very, it's kind of great for me because I can actually see his building from my office, right? So now Dad worked in the community. Here I am working in the community doing, some great work. And I visited him very often. And unfortunately, it's sad to realize that, that 3rd Avenue corridor has not changed a lot, right? In terms of some of the things that we're witnessing in terms of just how it's kept, individuals who are, sort of hanging out at all hours of the day, folks nodding out in the corners. We could do better. We need to do better. That's like a throwback to the 70s when I walked through there. And it's really disturbing to me. And I'm very committed to working with folks to see how we can change that narrative. So thank you very much for your time and appreciate the audience.
Thank you, Dr. Aponte. Anne Marie has a question.
You forgot to mention dermatology.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have a dermatologist.
Yeah, and it's funny when people say, why do you have a dermatologist? I said, because they're so hard to find, right? You ever try to get a dermatology appointment? It's like 4 or 5 months to get a dermatology appointment. So we have a dermatologist. Unfortunately, she's only available once a month now because she has had her 4th child and she works at another facility. But we're fortuitous to still have her available to us. And we actually just relaunched our prenatal program, by the way. We had stopped doing prenatal. And when I got there in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, one of my commitments was to start prenatal services because women's health is critically important. We know women drive healthcare. The more that we to do to serve women, and they bring everyone in, right? They bring all their children in, they bring their tias in, they bring their primas in, they bring their grandmothers in, everybody except us men, because we're terrible consumers of healthcare. And then for me, I'm the worst because I'm a physician. And I just look in the mirror, I try to diagnose myself. So, but creating robust women's health services is critical. And we did that in September 2022. We relaunched our prenatal program. And since then, we've had 29 babies born to Borinquen.
Nice.
That's great. That's great. Thank you again, Dr. Aponte. Welcome. Congratulations on your new position, and I'm sure that you'll make everyone very proud. Are there any questions? Yes, we have a few questions. Eugene and then Mindy.
I appreciate your presentation, but this is culture and economic development. And you should be really addressing the health and human services.
Can I say something about
your point is well taken. I'm making my rounds because I want to get to know all the folks. And so I had the opportunity to join you today. And as I mentioned, culture is also therapeutic. Art is therapeutic and it relates to health, right? And certainly economic development also relates, but thank you for that advice. And I do participate in that committee as well.
I was gonna say, I was on the board of directors of the Borinquen Health Center. I was also on the board of directors of Casabe Houses with Yolanda Sanchez when we first started that thing.
Ellie Sanchez. Yes. Okay.
No, Yolanda. Yolanda was.
Oh, Casabe? Okay, I thought you were talking about
She was also the head of Borinquen Neighborhood Health Center. She on the 3rd floor in Taino before you move.
Right. That was Elizabeth Sanchez.
No. Yolanda. And we started a program there, which I don't think you do anymore, but I think you should, was the intervention program for battered women. I don't know if you still hold that program, but that was much needed in the neighborhood, and I'm sad to say that they moved upstate, but they should be here. It was a Borinquen intervention center was covered the first name. But they used to take women that were battered and put them in a safe house outside of the city and make sure everybody, communicated with them, because your family is the worst one. When you're being buried by your husband, they'll let them know where you're at.
Right.
I just wanna answer your question. I told him that he needs to go to every committee meeting. He wants to get involved with everyone in the community, not only the human services, that he does go to the human services.
You should be just doing something, you should bother me here.
That's great. Thank you again, Dr. Ponte. And we do invite you to come as many times as you'd like to development culture to
Thank
let
you.
us know any programming, because we all need healthcare, right? Just because, I mean, I feel like it's all tied up. It's all tied up in some way.
And
Are there any-
I learned about Rolinda's Ramos's salsa Fridays, and I want to learn how to do some more salsa. So if nothing else, I'll get you go over there, right? So
That's great, that's great.
I got a question.
Denny?
So thank you, Dr. Ponte for that presentation, man, and I applaud Borica's services that you guys are providing. It's certainly well needed. Of the 12,000 you mentioned earlier that you're servicing, can you break down some of those demographics of the wide range of services that you guys are providing? You know, what percentages, obviously the community, maybe not putting the prenatal care back is probably a smaller percent, but what services are capturing the majority of those in the community that you're servicing?
yeah, so our busiest services are pediatrics, adult medicine, and dental. Those are the busiest service, and I would say dental is particularly busy. We have very robust dental service. We do about the organization, the health center, does about 65,000 visits a year, and dental represents about 25,000. About 30% of our visits are for dental alone. We know that the community really is in need of great dental services. And one thing we're looking to do is expand our dental services to add pediatric dentistry and orthodontia, braces for children. If you want braces for your kid right now in East Harlem, you're sending them over to Cornell, you're sending them to Columbia. There's very few Medicaid providers in East Harlem that are doing that. And that's a disservice to our community.
Yeah, thank you.
And then, just in terms of demographics, we predominantly have a Medicaid population. 65% of our patients are Medicaid. And then in terms of Medicare, the older population, that's probably about 15%. And then we serve about 10% to 11% uninsured. And that's something really important. If I could just make that last point, that FQACs like ours, we accept anybody who walks through our door, regardless of your immigration status, regardless of insurance, regardless of anything. You walk in our door, we take care of you. We surround you with care. And regardless of your ability to pay, we put you on what's called a sliding fee scale. You pay what you can. We work with you. We try to get you insured if you're eligible. We did a lot of work with the asylum seekers when they first came into the community, and we still have a lot of recent immigrants that are coming into our health center because they've learned that they can get care for us, including our pharmacy. We have what's called a 340B program in our pharmacy where patients can get medications at cost, meaning what the manufacturer cost to buy from the manufacturer. So that could be as little as $5 to $20 for medication.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
That's great. Any other questions for Dr. Ponte?
Yeah, I just had one question in general. Sorry, I know it should be in the health and human services one, but since, the Allen Hospital is shutting down the midwifery program. Next month, they will no longer have midwife services, which we all know is extremely important in our community. Will, Lorraine Health Center, do you have any services like that? Will you be able to provide anything like that that can, pick up the ball that Columbia dropped?
Yeah, that again, a major disservice, and yes, you're quite right. They're closing their midwife service. My providers are actually mid-levels. They're midwives and nurse practitioners. I'm augmenting that team. It's hard to recruit. Maybe since they're closing their program, I might be able to recruit some midwives to our health center. But I would be happy to service those patients, and that's something that we're going to stand at the ready to do. And that's why we regrew and relaunched our prenatal program just for for that reason alone, to make sure that there's access to care for these women. And most of these women like coming to health centers like ours because we get to know them really, really well, right? It's a very intimate relationship. It's not just take a number and wait online. They get to meet a care manager. They get services, you know. We even visit them at the hospital when they deliver and bring them a care package. As a matter of fact, Anne-Marie, you got to bring the little onesie you designed for our babies. We designed a Barinkin onesie for our babies, and we give them a little care package with Pampers and the whole bit, make that postpartum appointment. And by the way, we offer transportation services to our patients. We were able to obtain a Uber health account, a grant. It runs out in June, but we keep pushing it to get more. For patients who have challenges getting to their health appointments, we can actually send them free of charge to their appointments. And finally, I didn't mention this, but we have a health navigator, a person who will actually go with a person to an appointment. Let's say it's someone who doesn't speak English very well. They're afraid to go get their colonoscopy. When you go to your colonoscopy, for those of you, you know, who have done your colonoscopy, you know, you have someone pick you up. There are people who don't go because they don't have anyone to take them or pick them up. And we'll have our health navigator actually go get them. And these are all unfunded, by the way, unfunded services that we provide. And when you talk about economics, right? The economics of healthcare are broken. And so perhaps that's the agenda item that we need to discuss on this committee, because rate reform needs to happen in Medicaid. The way we get paid today for the services that we provide are based upon 1999 cost. Think about the gallon of milk from 1999 to today and what the cost has gone up. Healthcare has gone up in that way as well. And so we get 70 cents on a dollar that we should get for the care that we provide to our community. But we make it work, we make it happen. But I'm going to become a very loud voice, and I've already become a loud voice around rate reform that has to happen at the state. So your state and your assemblymen, you got to push them for rate reform and Medicaid for places like us to continue not only to survive, but to thrive and to do better work.
Thank you again, Dr. Aponte. We will hear from you, so thank you so much. Jessica Morris has one more question if you have time. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you very much, and Dr. Ponte for your incredible work and for considering healthcare. You know, I sit on the other side of the fence. I think it is an economic development engine. It is tied to the economics of East Harlem, and critical that you're here. I'm aware of Medicare waiver program that is in the process of being written from a policy perspective that would enable a whole new tranche of activities to be prescribed and covered, such as yoga or social activities, other sorts of more socially supportive points of activity, and the pipeline to getting people connected to those activities that support their mental health. So I can put together a sort of a one-pager if it's helpful for you. It's modeled off of some work that California's done, and it's, I think, in process at the state level now, but something that I think would greatly benefit you and your work being ahead of and aware of in order to serve the East Harlem community. Social prescribing is the shorthand for it, and so if you Google it, you'll find the sort of movement there, and you may already be well tuned into that as it goes.
Jessica, thank you for that. You're talking about the 1115 waiver?
I think so. I am.
Yeah.
You know better than I do, but
So that waiver was approved. It is now in place. As a matter of fact, RFPs are going out for what you described in terms of the social network that they're going to create to make sure that we're thoroughly assessing social needs for patients and putting in resources around them. So that is beneficial. That's the direction we need to go in. I think that the governor's push to get this waiver, for those of you who don't know what that waiver is, Medicaid is paid by the feds. CMS gives money to the state administers Medicaid. But in order to sort of work outside their script, the CMS script, you need to submit a waiver. The evidence is that not only can you do what they require you to do in terms of Medicaid, but if you want to sort of go off script, if you will, then you have to be able to do it within the same cost. You cannot increase the cost. And so New York State submitted a waiver. It's the second one they've submitted that I'm aware of in recent, about 10 years or so. One was back when Distrip was around, if those of you folks who were around for Distrip. And this allows us to do things a little bit more differently in medicine, of focus on certain issues, but yet not drive up the cost of Medicaid in New York State. And that's the key element. And when you take care of patients outside of the hospital, when you house them, when you feed them, when you clothe them, when you give them social support, when you address their mental health issues, you're going to decrease the cost of healthcare, along with, of course, great primary care that we provide.
You're on it. Thank you very much, Dr. Puente.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Aponte? Okay. Now we're really saying goodbye.
This has been a pleasure. Thank you guys so much. I'll listen in on some of the rest of your conversation, however.
Okay, thank you. Great. We will move on now to our East River Plaza conversation. We have Rafaela here from Blumenfeld Development.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
Oh, good.
I just wanted to sort of ask, Angel and the chair, if you wanted me to sort of just go back and just give a little bit of an overview of sort of the whole Target situation previously. I mean, I know everyone knows that they have left East River Plaza, but I appeared before the executive committee back in October, and I didn't know if anyone wanted me to sort of explain any of the circumstances of them leaving. Okay. Target informed us literally when it was making it public that they were going to be leaving East River Plaza. They did not come to us with, any conversation about closing the store until they made the public announcement about, I believe it was 9 stores that they closed around the country. And they did all of those closings at the same time. Target walked away from their lease at East River Plaza. They still have 17 years left on their lease at ERP. And they are currently still paying rent on that lease. So I just, pardon?
All right.
Well, all right, maybe. I mean, I'd rather have Target there, but that I just wanted folks, I think this has been discussed at the community board, but I just wanted folks to understand that that's sort of the situation, that Target still actually holds that space and controls that space. I'm sorry, was that a question?
No, no
Okay.
question.
At this point, Target has not been very, responsive or communicative to even us as their landlord. They spoke to our principals back in December. They are leasing the space and working on, I should say, marketing the space for reletting the space. They have hired a broker. They've actually hired the same broker that we use at East River Plaza. And they've started those activities, but there is no information that they've shared with us in terms of, interest or activity that they've had to date. But we do know that they're actively marketing the space.
So they're actively marketing the space, but you guys don't know.
They're responsible. They're for marketing the space. They are trying to find an alternate tenant. There have been a couple of tenants that have approached us, and we have referred them to Target to have a conversation with Target about leasing that space.
Jenny.
Hi, I have a technical question there. So is there a clause in their lease that stipulates they can't leave the space vacant for a certain amount of time? And like, what is that length of time, if so?
There isn't a clause in the lease. This lease is at this point almost 14, 20 years old at this point. This was negotiated early in the 2000s. So there isn't a recapture. I know that was a question that had been asked previously. And there isn't anything that specifies how long they can have the space inactive.
Just out of curiosity, is that the same for the other spaces in East River Plaza as well?
I don't know. I haven't I have not reviewed any of those leases.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Is it possible in any way for, the committee / community to, submit a list to you of suggestions or, after, maybe perhaps we wanna do a survey on what we feel the community would like to see there and submit it to you guys so that it can be submitted to Target as like just suggestions?
I mean, if you'd like to do that, we're happy to pass that along. I do know that there was a letter that the community board sent directly to Target. We had passed along the chief of real estate, the head of real estate for Target, to Xavier. I know he had reached out to him back in October, and then there was a letter that the community board sent to Target, I think with outlining their concerns and actually a request to reconsider that space. I don't know if Target responded to that letter. I have not seen a copy of the letter. We didn't get a copy of that letter, so I'm not exactly sure what the specifics were in the letter.
Thank you. Has there been any response to Target?
No.
So technically, Target can hold this space up until their lease runs out without ever getting another tenant? Is that what you're saying?
I suppose technically they can, but I mean, they're paying rent and there's no reason for them to keep the space dark.
Right. Not for 17 years.
How much longer
I
is
mean,
on there? Is it
17 years.
Are there any, sorry,
Anne and then Jen.
Where are they marketing this information? If we wanna know if you know, who to contact in terms of renting the space in Target, where can you find that information?
I can get that. I don't have the name of the broker. I can recirculate the Michael Seaman is their real estate person. I can circulate his contact information again, and I can also reach out to see if I can get the name of the broker if that's something that's helpful for the board.
Thank you. Jenny and then.
is there another technical question, is there any stipulations about subleasing, like does Blumenfeld have to approve what's the parameters around their ability to sublease?
There were provisions to allow for subletting. There are, sort of permitted uses, which sort of work with the center, work with the zoning, that they have to abide by. And there are certain, I mean, obviously we have Costco there, so like a BJ's or like a membership club is something that, we wouldn't want to have there just because there's the non-compete with Costco as the tenant. But what we would expect is that since there's 17 years, they may come back to us in terms of perhaps wanting to terminate the lease and have us enter into a direct lease with the tenant, but we'll have to see. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that question.
No.
Okay.
Thank you, Rafael, for that information. Certainly to bring that space back to our level of viability is important to everybody in the community. I think it would be safe to say that whoever, if they bring in someone, is it safe to say that it is subject to approval for Bloomfield Development, or can they just bring in whoever as long as it meets a certain criteria?
I think there's certain criteria in the lease, Vinny, in terms of the viability of that tenant, there's certain uses. Just from a zoning standpoint, that's sort of the guide in terms of what the uses are in terms of permitted uses. We don't want any noxious uses that would be a problem in the center. But there were some provisions, and I'm sure they would come back to us, but I mean, it would, we would be able to approve the uses within the construct of the lease.
And just as a quick follow-up, thank you, Rafael. obviously there's a workforce development loss there, right? Because there was a X amount of employees, many of which were local East Harlem residents.
Yes, there were 275 employees, I think 265 by the time they actually closed the doors.
Wow. Rafael, is there a way that the committee can be helpful to lend itself to these efforts to, in any way? If you can make any suggestions, please do so. This is the committee for ECHO. We certainly would like to, do whatever we can to be helpful.
Most definitely. We'll pass that along. I will also, if there are some, suggestions or ideas in terms of needs for the community that the committee wanted to pass along through us to Target, we're happy to do that. Again, I can recirculate the contact information and in terms of a follow-up correspondence with Target directly.
Thank you.
A little bit off topic. Do you have any news on what the restaurant space that what's the name?
Who's that? Applebee's?
Applebee's.
Yeah.
We've had tenants looking at Applebee's. I suppose this is, if there is a silver lining, with Target leaving, there still is interest in the center. We have had some tenants come and look at that space. We don't have, a letter of intent with any of those tenants. They're still evaluating the situation at this point. We do have the Pet Mart space that has been, we've been talking to 2 tenants for that space. We actually just entered into a lease, or actually we're about to enter into a lease for that space. We have a letter of intent for the balance of that space. We've had interest in the old GameStop space. So there is still interest despite Target leaving the center. We still have had continued interest for the vacant spaces at ERP.
And there's 4 vacant spaces in total.
There's PetSmart, there's the Applebee's space, then there's GameStop and Target. Yes.
All right, some of them are smaller than others, but yeah.
Yes, some of them are smaller. Obviously the Target space is probably the largest space that they were the second anchor tenant in the center.
One last one for me, what are the direct lines between the Target Corporation and New York City? Like, do they need, like, I'm thinking of the kind of Amazon relationship, which is different, but is another example of a large corporation that has ties to the city and needs the city in order to do things. Would it be as like sort of ticky-tacky as the Department of Buildings? Like, what do they need from the city? Like, I'm thinking about like.
I was gonna say, I'm not sure I understand the question. What does Target need from the city?
Right.
I'm not sure I can answer that question,
Yeah,
frankly.
what kind of relationship do they have with the city?
I don't know that I can answer that. I mean, when we reached out to Target years ago, it actually precedes my time at Blumenfeld Development. Target didn't even have a Manhattan location. They actually hadn't even come into Manhattan. They were just in the outer boroughs. Obviously, they've opened a number of different stores. They have a new format that I think they're introducing into various markets, including the city. They announced they were closing our store, yet they were also at the same time announcing that they were leasing space, 2 miles from East River Plaza on 125th Street. So I don't know what Target's relationship is, with the city of New York, and what they need from the city of New York. I mean, obviously they're a major employer. So I'm not certain. I suppose in terms of a point of contact, as I mentioned, the gentleman who is the head of real estate for them that we passed on his contact, Mike Seaman, I guess he would be a point of contact in terms of that relationship with the city, and any other city agency.
Who's on the city
On the
side? Like,
Target side.
Right,
I
yeah.
don't know. I mean,
Okay. If
the
you don't know, that's-
Target may actually be able to reach out directly to the mayor. It is Target. I don't know.
I appreciate it, and thank you so much for coming in and talking about this. It's been a big concern for the committee, and just, we really appreciate how straightforward and transparent you're being about everything.
You're more than welcome. And if there are any questions, like Angel and other members of the board, you know, have worked with us, and we've had a good relationship with the community board, and want to continue to have a good relationship with the community board. I guess just as an aside, a little bit off topic, you know, we've continued to do all of the things in the community that we have before, while Target was there. Since Target, you know, at the same day Target closed was our fall festival. You know, we continue to have our community events, and we will continue to do so in the future, and happy to share any information as we go forward with what our calendar is for next year.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you again, Rafaela. Jessica Morris.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for keeping us updated. So my question is a little bit maybe left field. I know in the prehistory to the Target, kind of present day Target saga and the development of East River Plaza, there was at one point interest in utilizing your full development rights to have some housing go up on top of what is there. Is that something? I know we are in a housing crisis. I think we care what kind of housing may be developed in East Harlem, but is there, I know money's not cheap these days, and the construction project on top of a retail center doesn't sound too appealing as far as, good for business. But is that something that has surfaced at all? I think there's been a lot of controversy, and not many people know that history as much as they understand, Target as a retailer doing business in the city. So anything on the horizon, or not so much?
Well, I mean, obviously there is additional development rights over East River Plaza. In fact, I think we started some outreach with the community back in 2014 regarding the additional development at East River Plaza. At this point, without a 421A or without some housing program, I think it would be very difficult in terms of moving forward and having an economically feasible and viable project to move forward. But in terms of at some point in the future wanting to move forward with the residential project, that is definitely something that, we were watching and sort of seeing at what things unfold and moving forward. That project, as some folks might know, that East River Plaza is subject to a special permit. It was developed with a large scale special permit that was very specific to the retail portion of the project. So we would need to go back through ULURP to unlock the development rights. We don't need to upzone the site, but we do have to go back through ULURP to unlock the additional development rights that are available as of right. Did you have another question, Jessica, or was that your same hand? I'm sorry.
I clicked lower hand. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay.
It was
No
my only
worries.
question. Yes, cheers. Thank you.
Thank you, Rafaela.
You're welcome.
So we will continue the conversation as a committee to see if we can work on, like I was saying, some type of a survey to just help in the process in any way that we can. Where, like Jenny had mentioned, it is a concern of the community, and we represent just that. So you'll be hearing from us very soon. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. I look forward to hearing with you and continuing the conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. You too.
Okay, up next we have Acacia Arts Sendero Verde. Gabriela Gonzalez.
Hi, thank you, Community Board 11, for inviting us to present. Hope everyone is doing well and staying warm. It's pretty icy out there. So I think, the invitation to present here stemmed from the earlier presentation a few weeks ago that the Sendero Verde development team did, where we presented to Community Board 11 on some development updates, including the lottery, the housing lottery that just opened. we are here to present on the community facility / art space that will be, part of the Sendero Verde development. However, I do have to lead by saying that it's, very, very premature. It's in the early stages. As you may know, the phase 2 of Sendero Verde is finalizing construction now. And the housing lottery is actually going to close on February 9th. So people can still apply through Housing Connect. For those who don't know, Sendero Verde is located on 60 East 112th Street and 75 East and 111. It's 2 buildings. The first one has already been rented up. And then the second one is finalizing construction and is in the lottery right now. It's a mixed use affordable housing / supportive building that's going to have, a bunch of different amenities and community facilities. But of interest to this group, with regards to arts and culture, there's we're calling it a multidisciplinary sort of black box / white box space that's going to be operated by Acacia Network and our affiliates. Acacia Network, for those of you who don't know us, is an umbrella organization. Broadly, we operate programs in the areas of health, housing, economic development, social services, and cultural revitalization, right? We have a pretty robust arts and culture portfolio, and our flagship, and I think, that's sort of what we're going to try to emulate in this space, is our Loisaida Center in the Lower East Side, where we operate year-round arts and culture programming that responds to the community's needs, right? In the case of Loisaida, which is in the Lower East Side, it very much responds to the flavor, needs, and wants of that community. That is precisely what we want to do in East Harlem, honoring the roots of the community and what people really want. For now, the space itself is sort of a blank canvas. Right now, it's actually being used as a development office while construction is ongoing. So the development team sort of has their offices there. Once construction is finalized, then our plan is to sort of do the build out to turn this into a public black box / multi-purpose space that's going to be configured in a variety of ways to maximize programming and audience interaction. The idea is to use the space for, community events, whether it's, local meetings, conferences, to gallery exhibits and theater music productions. Important to note, the space, this multidisciplinary sort of flexible space, opens up to the courtyard. You may have seen the Sendero Verde courtyard, which has, if you haven't yet, we just finalized the murals there and it's a beautiful project. And the idea is to really revitalize this corridor, which also ties into under the elevated. So anyway, we're still in the process of securing funding for this to do that build out. So we do hope, as we, finalize construction on the building itself and it's rented up and we start securing funds for construction, permitting, and equipment, to be able to come to you and present on some of our plans. But with that, I'll stop there and open it up for any questions that the community board may have.
Thank you.
Gabriela, thank you. What is the square footage of the space?
So hold on, I have it right here. It is about 1,400 square feet, about 1,400. And the idea is to have it be pretty, as I said earlier, flexible so that it can be reconfigured depending on what we're going to be doing there.
Thanks.
Sure.
I just have a question. So
Sure.
I know that during executive last month, when you came and presented, I know that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but did you mention that there was a space or time for you to receive feedback from the community as to what it was that you guys could create there or what the community needed? Like you said, you wanted to create a space that
that responds to the
Identifies what-
community's needs. Yeah, yeah. So what we mean by this is that we want programming to respond to the community's needs, right? So it's going to be a flexible space. And our plan, and we actually did submit, we are still under consideration for the East Harlem DRI funding. But as part of the proposal that we submitted for consideration, we were expecting to put together sort of community steering committee, so to speak, or to come to community board meetings with yourselves, or sort of do different focus groups to learn what folks want to see in the community. Not to say that it's going to translate into a permanent space. Let's say the community says we want a restaurant cafe. It's not that we're going to turn it into a restaurant cafe. It's more like, what type of programming do you want to see? And let us respond to that through this space. Much like, and for those of you who have not visited the Loisaida Center in the Lower East Side, I do encourage you to do so, because it's that type of work, right? Where the center serves as a sort of like, takes the temperature of the neighborhood and puts together different programming that really attracts local community members of all ages, right? From senior programming to youth, etc. And that's really what we want to do here. So of course, we would welcome the opportunity to have those sessions for community input.
And just a follow-up to that.
Mhm.
You're saying that you do have some type of a committee or team who is visiting different, I would say, events around the community, or meeting or speaking to individuals to see or to feel out the neighborhood, or that hasn't started yet?
No, I think what I meant was, when I mentioned the committee, the idea as part of the East Harlem DRI funding proposal that we submitted was to create a sort of community steering committee that would help guide the vision of programming for the space. But again, we are in the very early stages. This is very premature. Construction hasn't finalized on the building, and the space itself is raw. So the first step for us would be to secure funding to build out that space. And when we say build out, it's really to equip it to be a black box / multidisciplinary flex space. And programming would come next, right? So we're kind of so many phases away from actually even starting to consider what the programming would be, that, I would say that, toward maybe middle of 2024, end of 2024, we would have a clearer sense and be able to provide more guidance on where we are. But for now, it's really raw, and it's being used by the construction team as offices.
They have Angel, Eugene, Vinny, and Emery.
Okay, two questions. The first one is, do you guys plan to offer medical services in that complex?
No, that building does not presently have any plans for medical services. The building itself, hold on, let me see. The other partners that are going to be there, there's going to be like I think there's a preschool. There's going to be some kind of education partner there. And there's going to be, let me see what other, there's a supportive housing office, which is operated by Acacia Network / Promesa Inc. And there's other amenities, but no medical services.
Okay, the second one is, who's funding your Loisaida programming?
So Loisaida is an affiliate of Acacia Network. Loisaida is its own 501c3 nonprofit organization, and Acacia Network, as the umbrella, is sort of we are the fiscal operator of Loisaida. So they operate under us, but they secure their own funding. They have grants. They have government funding for arts and culture. I can drop in the link on the chat so that you guys can visit the website and see all of the great stuff that happens there, as well as their funding. And I'll also drop in my email in case anybody has any questions.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah. Do you have any sense of how many seats would be in your black box?
How many seats would fit in there?
Yeah.
So I don't have a sense of seating yet. We don't have that, but again, because we wouldn't have, if anything, we would have, it would be mobile, right? So anything that happens in there would be sort of mobile, so that if we were to use it as for a presentation with seats, those could be moved. But we would need to calculate, because that all depends on the furniture that's installed, and that'll determine the seating, right? We don't know yet if it's going to have like a stage that can be broken down, or if it's going to have, we still are not quite sure what the final configuration is going to be.
The second question is, do you intend to charge rent, or would you do something like the Neo Rican Poets Cafe used to do, which is a 60-40 split, with whoever presenting?
Mm-hmm. So that's TBD, right? At our Loisaida Center, the model is free programming or low cost. For those who are renting, I guess it depends on the use, right? The use of the facility. If it's a nonprofit requesting use of the facility, or I guess that's something that would need to be determined with our legal team, sort of what types of uses would be permitted in the space, because of course there's insurance requirements, liability considerations. So all of that, there might be people that might be interested in renting it for a birthday party, right? So are we going to allow that type of use? Those are all the things that we need to consider as we get closer to that.
Thank you, Gabrielle, for that information. Sure. And as this project is finally coming online, it's good to see. On that space, obviously, yeah, it makes sense. You need to envision what you guys want to implement there, and then see how all that's kind of going to work out. You want to attach it to multiple use in theater, so you might have arts and culture, but then you might also have it involved with, workforce development or so whatever else. Is the space designated as a CFU, community facilities use one? As part of the development team, Acacia certainly put all the funding together for the development. You mentioned funding to secure funding. Has there any been funding from the development of the project for such to kind of help fit out that space, as the funding fit out all the other spaces, including all the residencies on the project? And does the opportunity for CFU use, community facility use, would allow some of the small not-for-profit organizations in the community, CBOs, to partake in implementing some either programming or utilization of that space?
Well, that's something certainly to consider. I'll reach out to see if the development team has already considered applying for that use. I can say that, once what the development is going to fund, right? The development project is going to fund, is that it'll be finished. It's not going to be raw walls, it's going to have certain finishing, but it's not going to be outfitted or equipped ultimately for what we would want, which is for it to be a multidisciplinary cultural space. So that initial, outfitting, but we can look at the community facility use.
Is it designated as a CFU space?
I don't think, let me, I'll have to get back to you on its official designation. I think right now it's not designated as, actually I have to check. I'll check to see. Yeah, I'll check to see. Yeah.
Right, and then at some other point, they can just transfer that space for anything else, even a cafe as a for-profit. Gabrielle, so the square footage on the Loisaida Center you guys got, this is 1,400 square feet, which doesn't seem that, but it was still a good amount of space. Can you tell us what size that is? And you mentioned the affiliate. What is the affiliate that's gonna operate and administer the programming here? Is it Loisaida as well, or is it another affiliate?
So right now we had it envisioned I can say this, on the East Harlem DRI application, the affiliate that submitted was our affiliate, the East Harlem Council for Community Improvement. Acacia Network, through its affiliate network, we have a solid footprint in East Harlem. So ECI, the East Harlem Council for Community Improvement,
Again.
yes, it was the affiliate that's flagged as potentially
Right.
going to
But that's
partially operate
subject-
that space.
Right, but that's subject to funding if they hit the DI proposal. So if it's not, if it doesn't go, if they don't win, let's say they don't win the proposal, are they still the affiliate that's gonna operate?
So,
this
so
space?
again, that's TBD, right? Ultimately, all of the affiliates of Acacia operate under Acacia, right? So ultimately, the operator, so to speak, is Acacia, right? Whether from a fiscal perspective, it's ECI or for example, the one the affiliate who's operating the supportive housing part of Sendero Verde is Promesa Inc. under Acacia, right? So it all depends. We would definitely we would likely have it be one of our East Harlem affiliates because of the solid trajectory in the neighborhood
Right.
under Acacia, of course. So, but the benefit is that we have this huge network that we can tap into internally for resources, right? So whether it's one affiliate or the other, they have the strength of the Acacia network behind us, and we have the expertise from all across our broad array of programming across the network, which in fact includes El Barrio's Operation Fight Back, which is a partner at PS 109, and you all heard Rolinda presenting earlier. So yeah, but that's, again, it's early. We haven't secured the funding for that. So as soon as we have more information on that piece, we could certainly come back and say, this is what we're thinking and this is what it's looking like. But at the moment, what we can say is that we envision this as a space for arts and culture for the community, and for it to really be an asset for East Harlem.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Angel, did you have a question? Okay, so all the questions have been answered. Thank you so much, Gabriela.
Thank you.
We would definitely follow up with you so that once you secure the funding and that portion of the process opens up, we can offer our help in any way.
Sure, and I'll drop in some links here so that you guys can, if anybody wants more info about us, about Loisaida, and about Sendero Verde, I'm putting them all in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
We're moving on to our committee discussion on goals for 2024. I think it's a good time to revisit this. Here's some thoughts, ideas. I'll start. Obviously the arts and culture activation that we've been talking about since September. Later on, we have a letter of support designating East Harlem as a cultural district. That's just our first step. We had Senator Serrano come speak to us and see what more or less community boards as is can do. And I think we've already taken certain steps, and to continue to work on that, I think is a great idea. Just making sure, and I know this is Anne's portion of the discussion, but I definitely want to make sure that our budget asks really do meet our needs. And maybe we have to dive a little bit deeper and see what is it exactly that we need in terms of, economic development, culture, and East Harlem. We definitely have time to do that, at least until September. Or maybe even before then, so that we can have them all ready in a list.
That's the district needs,
The district needs. No, we're talking. Thank you, Jake. Our goals as a committee for this year. So those are kind of, I guess I'll start, but if anyone has.
I of course have something to say. Just wanna raise the committee's awareness. Julia de Burgos, I just learned from the councilwoman that the school in the Julia de Burgos is in negotiation with the city Economic Development Corporation to take over the whole building. Now, the school has never paid rent. They have a line item, for rent from the Department of Education. And they use that to pay, so the city gives them the check here, it goes back to the city with this hand. They don't pay no rent. Meanwhile, the two very poor arts organizations in the building, they don't even have a lease. And they've been paying rent for the last 20 years. If anybody should get those two spaces, I'm talking about the theater and the community room, it should be either Taller Boricua or the Planeros de la Ventana, who have been paying rent for the last 20 years. So I think we should stay on that because I hope we're able to discuss with the city the terms and conditions or whatever contract they want to put out to manage those two spaces. We should be able to say what we want in there. I suggest like they should have a number of cultural events. I think the original contract, they were supposed to do 4 a month. They never lived up to that, which is one of the reasons why they're not there anymore. I mean, I'm talking about the Hispanic Federation, you know, I hate. But the Julia de Burgos Theater itself, the councilwoman put out, gave them $80,000 to do a theater program. With $80,000, you can fund 12 groups to do 12 performances that would cover the whole year. And that would only be, I give them $5,000, they put on the show, they make whatever money they make. The key though is that they shouldn't have to pay rent. If the school didn't pay rent for 20 years, I don't think we should make anybody else pay rent in that building. For at least 5 years. After 5 years, just from experience, if I'm able to produce a show in there once a year for 5 years, I'll be able to pay rent after that. Last time I put on a show there, I made $10,000. And I didn't even sell the place out with my new work. I expect to be able to do that. As far as the Lower East Side is concerned, there's a Lower Manhattan Community Council that puts out, that puts out $5,000 to $10,000 grants down there. Up here, we can use the Lower East Side's money and empowerment zone to match grants, so you can get up to $10,000 from those two grants. The problem is nobody has a theater to play in except for PS 109, which is only 70 seats. Meanwhile, I've got 100 seats at Perugia and 600 at the Museo del Barrio. I have, like I read to you before, my vision or my dream. What we can set up in these Harlem is to have 12 showcase performances in the Julia de Burgos. The most popular shows there, we could move to a 300-seat theater at the Taino Towers. And if it sells that out, we can move it to the 600-seat theater. Right? The Apollo has 600 seats, I think, or thereabouts. And they don't do any theater at all, or very little theater. They do mostly cabaret kind of stuff, which we have the capability here, or we have the opportunity, should I say, to be able to create a whole theater district, beginning with the Julia de Burgos. If we don't get that place running, at least 12 performances a year, I don't know what we're gonna do.
So what's the immediate suggestion for the committee?
I think we should sit down with the economic development, and which, like we asked for a meeting between economic development and culture and,
Who at
Department of Cultural Affairs.
EDC did you reach out to?
Not yet.
Oh, you haven't yet, okay.
The councilwoman is telling me that they're recalcitrant, they don't wanna meet, because they're working on this deal with the school. But I know that Xavier had put together a group, I think, really wanted to be in on that. When we sit down and talk with EDC and cultural.
So it's making sure that we have that meeting with EDC.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. Great.
So I just wanna put out there, like, that's one person, right, that has a vision for the arts and culture. We represent an entire community and we have to speak, we have to give that opportunity for other people to also chime in and be able to give us ideas on what they envision as well as arts and culture. I think that, Eugene's idea of activating the theaters is great. But I think us as a committee, we need to kind of just identify what it is what is our vision for the arts and culture in East Harlem, just generally.
The councilwoman told me that she wanted to have a series of discussions with the community about what we should do with the Julian rules. But I would like you guys to be up on the history of that center, who's actually doing stuff there, and what the conditions should be in any contract they put out. They should have to put on, some kind of theater program and have some kind of events in the community room regularly.
Giselle, I'm understanding that what you're saying is we actually need a strategy. Eugene, you're talking like super deep into tactics, which is great, but I think, is that correct? Where you're like, we kind of need just like a mission statement just about what we want.
Right.
The arts and culture to be in the community, and then we can slide in these wonderful tactics, like that could be a building block of a broader statement about inclusivity, affordability, like whatever it is we want for the artists, in the community.
For example, if we as a community board, go out and, obviously do our work, dig deep and talk to certain people, and we find the need, or we see the need for like an arts, festival once a year, right? As a committee, if that's our vision for what we think like can bring together, obviously a festival of having a whole bunch of arts and culture, institutions would be a great network, place for people, then that's something that the committee can focus on, and we can create our vision around that, or, that's just an idea that popped in my head, but I would like to hear, we love Eugene and Tina, but I would like to hear in general, like what, and come up perhaps with like a vision for what we feel arts and culture.
And it will
could
tie into
be.
the district needs and budget, so that when I go next week to the committee, I can say these are our goals, and this is what we need money for this. That's why we decided, let's work on this now, because next week is the meeting with the district need committee.
So everything kind of has to start with like a conversation, and then obviously follow-ups and other conversations, and then we can bring that all kind of together, tie it in with our district needs, and that's just arts and culture. There's obviously other places.
I also wanted to, I'm sorry, just before you continue, not only arts and culture, but we also talked about the restaurants, the businesses, we need to help them. That's my goal, I guess I'm gonna talk about mine then. My goal is to help the restaurants, the small businesses, the mom and pop shops in the community that are, struggling. How can we as a committee help them? And I mean, maybe getting them resources put together on grants that they can get, or legal aid, or whatever it is that they need. What else we talked about? Even the summer youth, the kids in the summer youth, we can get them to work with us to put these packets together and then visit the restaurants and visit these places. So this is some stuff that me and Giselle and Angel were talking about last week when we met. So as a committee, how can we?
And that has been, I think, talking about it since September. She really wants to like go out and just visit a few of the restaurants, and we can take out, some time.
One of the reasons why I propose a theater district for the neighborhood is that theater is economic development. For every dollar somebody pays to go to buy a ticket, they spend $12 in the local economy. So if we are able to get the theaters running, it's 1,200 seats in the neighborhood. We can pump almost $60 million into the local economy for a whole year. I'm not talking about like, if we have a festival, which I ain't got no problem with festival, that's a one-shot deal. When we could have 52 weeks of one shots.
So one thing that's helpful to me when thinking about strategy and strategic vision and goals, and it could just be me, I very much like to work from documents. And one thing that I had created for Human Services Committee was each person put their background, their interests. So for everyone has different interests, comes with a different background to this particular committee. And it gives a kind of a foundation for then these other goals. And I think being able to build on what other people are thinking or could spark something else. And then I think having the big picture, okay, these are all of our goals. What is the low hanging fruit? What are the easy things? What's kind of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and then assigning it a monetary or budget line. Because I think things like knowing all of the different small businesses in this category, in that category, where are we missing businesses? I would love to open a bookstore. Personally, I would. We don't have one in it. I think it would be great. Anyway, but looking at where are there potential gaps and then how do we meet those needs? But it just gives us the big picture overview so we don't get lost in the details of trying to do one thing that's important when there could be other things and other supports for the community that we're missing.
It's a great idea.
Yeah. So a working document that first, each person's gonna put their background and their interests.
So I could just copy it and do a blank one for our committee. And then send it around to everyone, but it's just fill in. And then you can also just, because we had, dream ideas. If you could do anything with this committee or this committee could do anything, what would it look like? Because I think then we'll be able to put together themes and categories of, oh, it'd be really nice to have a community directory or whatever it is, even if it's like marketing and advertising, because we're hearing social media is maybe not the best place. So is it email list? Is it a big literal like community board? Is it a digital, like whatever it is? But I think really starting with what are we each bringing to the table? Because I think we're bringing different things, including what we're hearing from people in our own communities about, we really need this. This would be really nice. I wish we had this. Yeah, and so having all of that in one place and then saying, okay, here are some of the buckets or here are some of the themes, and then working from that.
Okay, that's a great idea. If you can start that working document, and it's something that everyone can see, right? And then, okay, we're like a Google Doc. Great.
And I'll put it in our folder, but then I'll email everyone the link. So we'll have it in email as well.
Thank you. Great, and the sooner the better. So if we get that working this month, then we can revisit it each month, and hopefully by December of 2024, we, made a lot of progress.
And I think, and again, I work best with the deadlines. If you tell me to do something by a certain time, rather than just, it'd be nice to have, no, for sure, I'll send the document around. No, but I mean, in terms of people filling it out. So it's like, if you can do tab 1, a brief profile, and 3 things that you'd love to see happen. And then at our next meeting, we dedicate, 10 minutes to, here's what we want to go over, just so we're constantly stepping forward and it's not, I didn't know what I was supposed to do, or I don't have anything prepared.
So by the 30th of January, that gives us 2 weeks.
Yes.
For everyone to.
Reasonable.
Yep.
I'm happy to give you my card, but I'm also sit on, not just CB12, I'm the vice chair of Parks and Culture. I'm also on the Business Development Committee, and I'm happy to share with you, because we're also starting a living document and doing the resource fair. I think maybe there's a way we can kind of all meet together, but we do have like a list, I have a list of like grant resources, et cetera, for businesses, and I have, because of Class of Theater Harlem, I use this grant database. So I can give cultural nonprofits a free month of the database to do research for grants.
What's the database?
It's instrumental, but not, it's spelled with FBA.
Thank you.
Alexis, if we could leave
Oh, I bought a bunch of them.
Okay, great.
I will reach out to you.
Okay.
Don't toy with my heart.
Why not?
Oh, because I'm Greek Scorpio. Animals.
Okay, is there anything else that anybody else wants to add to the committee discussion? I think with the working document, we should, yeah, get that moving. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next portion of our meeting, old business. It is now 8:34, so we're running on 2 hours. Our first topic, district needs and budget conversation. Anne Marie, I'll leave it. With the ones you could have, we already had. The old ones.
So, the last time we spoke about district need and budget, I think it was in September. Yeah, August, September. It was, we were talking about de la maqueta, a maqueta, and I'm sorry. What was the other one? Maqueta on 125th Street, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, we ended up keeping the maqueta to continue with district need and budget conversation because, as you know, there's a lot of construction going on, and right now it's in a standstill to fix La Maqueta. There is money, Friends of La Maqueta have money put aside to fix it, but until the Second Avenue, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The Park Avenue Viaduct project doesn't, so that doesn't end, there's nothing that can be done right now. So just what I was told by Elsie when I met with her regarding La Maqueta. So that's still on the district needs and budget. So once that's done, then we can go back and see, okay, so now what is it that La Maqueta needs? I believe they wanted a soundproof, soundproof roof, yeah, for the train, for La Placita. And, yeah, it's just right now it's standstill until Park Avenue gets done. The 125th Street, I think that was too broad, right, in the sense of Second Avenue coming up. I know there's a lot of more talks about, I think I read the other day that they wanna bring it up from Second Avenue all the way to Broadway. I read something like that, yes, yes,
Well, there's
right?
Lennox,
Right,
yeah,
Lennox,
it's coming up.
Lennox, right?
Oh, Avenue.
The Avenue. Right, I read something about, right,
Second all the way.
right, so sort of like
Third,
they move it up to,
that's
Lennox. But I think they have to, do a lot of, research and planning on, radio stations up that way. So it was too broad of an axe, and I believe we took it off, right? So we took it off the district need because it's too broad. In terms of, I mean, and I think that was it, the little two meetings.
So, yeah, pretty much, I think if we can take a look at what we currently have. After the working document. Start to tie them into and see what categories we could fit in, like what are the funding, I guess, what's the funding wording like? That coexists with the need. And I think that'll make our district needs and budget statement much more, that it makes sense. We're going somewhere with that document. But we definitely have to I think, take that further step and have some conversations with like council member and people who obviously have more information on like you said, I'm gonna get, 125th carries a great resource for that too. So we can revisit that, I guess, maybe next month or as the working document, we can tie them both in. Is everybody okay with that? Okay, next, take a look at the letter of support for designation of East Harlem as a cultural district. I'll give everybody a chance to review. Everybody get a chance to read it? Okay, what are your thoughts?
Looks good.
Is this something that we want to present?
So we're gonna present this to the full board, right? As the committee?
Yeah.
The designation, for the district, does this stipulate? Or do we know, is it the entire district of East Harlem or is it specific areas?
I think we should do the entire district of this.
The community board level.
Right, what was, hey, do you remember for when Serrano came and talked about this effort? What the difference is related to the entire district, just, it was, right?
He's just wanting to ask. I think it should be the whole district.
Right.
We represent the whole district, so why not?
If we have, like, Taino Towers on 24th.
Right, no, just so that we know what we're saying, right? Do a full board, we might get some of these questions, right? So.
You got 99th Street is PS 109, and then 124th Street is the Taino Tower.
Right.
Plus you have, on, the National Black Theater, on 25th. So, yeah, we gotta do the whole district.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so who is this letter addressed to? Because right now it says to Community Board 11, but we're not gonna write a letter to ourselves.
No.
Right. So that's my question.
Okay,
Who we done in this?
well, we're asking for a letter of support
Mhm.
to designate East Harlem as cultural. Are we at full board asking for the support of the entire board?
Yeah, yes. So yes,
Okay.
but when you're drafting the letter, you're drafting it as if the board's is gonna approve it.
Oh,
So like if it's a letter like, to. I was about to give a bad example. Angel's tired. If you're writing a letter to Blumenfeld Development, right, so then you address it to Blumenfeld Development, right, dear Blumenfeld Development, we support blah, 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 blah. That's the way it should be addressed. But it'll be presented to the full board for the full board to approve that. A letter should be sent out to Blumenfeld communicating that the board, supports the idea of establishing East Harlem as a cultural district.
So is this like to the state assembly? Like, are we doing?
So is it supporting that bill?
I don't wanna mention, but obviously the bill's not mentioned here, but I feel like from what Serrano said, that was kind of like the first step he needed, he needed support. Or at least he needed to receive and hear support from.
Your esteemed assembly.
So I'll send it to our assembly representative.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
But can I raise a question?
We should check with the office too, just.
Wow.
Okay, Mark.
Yeah, the problem is there isn't anybody right now who has the authority to name East Harlem as a cultural district. There is no, as I understand that there's no mechanism for that naming. So if we want to support the bill that begins the process of creating the opportunity for cultural districts, then we should specifically mention our support for that bill.
Right.
But there isn't a way for this letter to be acted upon.
There actually is, but that would be a city, request. Gibbs's initial designation was going to a city agency that is in charge of that. I can get you the information on that when I go back to it.
But doesn't the bill have to pass first before the city agency can recommend a?
No, right now there is a cultural district in Harlem.
There is, okay, and it's named by the city.
I believe so, yes.
But this is for the state. This is the target here is the state because we want to support Serrano. So I think what I would recommend is I don't know if we need to vote on this, but let's pass this as is with the asterisk of checking with Serrano's office to see who it should be addressed to be most effective to him. Does that make sense?
That's fine. I mean, if he's gonna direct us where he'd like that energy to go, that'd be helpful, yes.
And I think that sounds great. I agree. We just would need to reword the second to last paragraph.
Which one?
Working collaboratively with Community Board 11, because we're writing it from.
That's true.
Community Board 11.
Okay.
And then I think even the first line, because it'll be, we're writing as Community Board 11.
Well, can you tell me the first So Justin was that, looking forward to working collaboratively, okay.
Just look forward to working collaboratively with stakeholders. That's right. Mhm.
Mhm. And then really it would come from, because we're gonna present to full board, so ideally it would come from Community Board 11. So we wouldn't be writing on behalf of, you'd present to full board from Economic Development. But we're writing as Community Board 11 to express our strong support.
Okay.
So CB11 strongly supports.
Mhm.
All right.
And then, Angel, is it like Xavier who would be signing it? So just changing that chair, CB11. And then Xavier.
Okay. I just want to give Jessica and Mark an opportunity to, are you guys okay with how this letter is written?
And those suggested edits?
Any
Yeah,
edits?
yes, I'm fine with those edits because I agree, it's got to be written to, well, if it's going to have to potentially change when Serrano gives us direction as well, but yes, it has to be restructured so it's going to the right subject.
I think the intent is great. No objection.
Okay, so we now vote on this, okay, so.
Motion to present, what is it? What's the?
You made it, so you forget. A motion.
To support the
Motion to support the letter of support for designating East Harlem as a cultural district.
A second.
Second.
JD and CJ. All committee members, please respond with your vote. April Autry,
Yes.
Mark Bogursky,
Mark, that's you.
Mark.
We got a sandwich.
I'm on mute. Yes.
Good sandwich.
Yes.
I didn't get a sandwich.
You should get one, it's late.
All right. I wanna go.
Next.
Christina Johnson,
Yes.
Sharon Lynch,
Yes.
Giselle Malave,
Yes.
Eugene Rodriguez,
Yes.
Vinnie Torres,
Yes.
Jenny Stramsky.
Yes.
Anne Marie Vasquez,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right. Thank you very
Moving on,
much, folks.
Commercial rent stabilization intro 93.
There's a writer.
Yeah.
I think this is rule and then,
Wait a minute. See, yes. We gotta narrow that down.
on to the continued consideration of committee vote for land use application N 240010. CRY. City of Yes for Economic Opportunity.
What did? Yeah, do we have any, action items that we have to do
I believe we have to vote.
on?
On this language here?
Oh, yeah, multiple proposals presented on this whole city of yes.
18.
Mm-hmm. Andrew, is it now the last meeting for this committee prior to,
Yes.
Yeah, through January 31st of them, so this is it.
Wow.
All right,
Any suggestions on how to
yes,
blast through it? Let's do it.
yes, so one, I reprimand you guys should read my emails. And two, thirdly, so the full proposal has 18 pieces to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the Department of City Planning prepared this quick little checklist to help community boards gather their thoughts. Thank you to those that responded to the forum. So essentially what I think the committee should do is go, item number by item number and decide whether it supports, does not support, and if there are any requested modifications. Not language to recommend to the city planning or chastisements or anything like that, but change those words to this and that kind of thing. Tomorrow, land use is preparing the board's response, so we're gonna take what we get from Echo, unless you guys end up on two different sides of the fence, and then I'll start drinking heavily.
Get the bottom of it.
Sweet.
Get the bottom of it. This is a massively.
It's
elaborate,
enormous, yeah, it's
comprehensive
pretty big.
situation.
And I'm no one knows.
Could we
And you know,
potentially just,
okay, that's one quick
did
way.
everyone, wait, first of all, did everyone read Angel, because he put a link
Yeah,
in the email?
Yeah.
Mike did.
I did read, I did respond. And I think Jessica and you did too, Giselle, right?
Yes, okay. But let's do this tonight, I guess, because.
Is there a way to say, like, we're in agreement with everyone, with everything, if anyone has any objections to any of these or suggest, do you know what I mean, rather than do line by line, is like, are there 3 or 4 of the people, is it just more responsible to do it line by
I
line?
think it's better
Okay.
to do it line by line.
Cool, all right.
Okay, so let's start, for the reactive storefronts.
Reactivated stuff.
Reactivate storefronts. Angel, would you rather us just give you one or individual? One of these?
If one will be easier,
Okay.
if you're able to get a consensus.
Majority wins? Okay.
Hey, can I ask a quick question? Do you want us just to vote now, or do you want us to actually share some of the feedback we have about the proposal? I don't want to repeat what's already in those form responses, so I don't need to repeat it if everybody's seen it, but.
Sorry, can we try to just see where people are, just to get a sense of things? Because if we all agree, then we don't need, not I don't care about people's commentary, but if it's not going to change how we already feel, then I just think it's unnecessary. So maybe we can go through each one and just to get a sense of if we're all mostly in agreement or not, and then the places where we might be wildly off, then we can have a conversation. Can we try that?
I think rather than polling the board, we can do a voice vote. It'll go a little quicker.
Okay.
Is that okay?
I think, so we'll raise our hands for support or not support.
Right.
I'll tally it. If we're on either side, if we're not on either side of the fence, we'll have a discussion and request a modification if we can get to that. And then Mark and Jessica obviously can voice their vote. Okay, so let's start. Reactivate storefronts. Who's in support? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not in support? 1, 2.
I'm abstaining. And let me explain, right? I've seen where the city does different things in the many years that I've lived in this neighborhood, and a lot of times they do these things and they don't come out well. So I really don't, I've read some of the stuff Angel sent me and I found it very confusing. It was so much stuff that I just kind of got lost in the logistics of everything. And so I'd hate to vote yes for something and not feeling it in my heart. So I really want to just abstain from
And
this.
abstention is an over.
I know.
And they presented as well here in one of our meetings.
Say that again.
They came and presented too, and it was just too much.
Yeah, it was just too much. It was too much. I couldn't get through it all.
So we're gonna put 6 in support, 3 pretty much not in support. So is there anybody wants to add a modification?
Can I make a suggestion, just for process, and take it or leave it? When everyone doesn't agree, which will happen, if people can give maybe a number on a scale from 0 to 5, how important the issue is to them. So if it's a 0, I really don't have an opinion, fine. If it's a 5, I'm really truly against this, then we have conversation. Otherwise, we just go with the majority.
Okay,
Unless that's.
Yeah, can I just, there's a part of this whole thing that's very troubling, the whole process, because it's so massive, as all you have said, and the timeline is constrained, and I'm not entirely sure they want any real feedback anyway, despite their supposed constant asking for feedback. Because that last set of responses didn't seem to indicate that they really wanted to change anything. But I'm guessing if we have any ability to alter what they're doing, if because we feel that way, I don't think it's going to be through votes of support and not support. I think it's going to be through some kind of request for modification. So I don't necessarily mind getting a feel for where the committee is, but I just don't think presenting a 6-3 vote, a 7-2 vote, an 8-1 vote is going to mean anything when it comes to actually sharing it with the DCP and the city council.
Is that we have to give our, land use is taking our feedback from tonight, if
Right.
everyone, yeah, right. So we're going through the process, we have to submit this proposal feedback on behalf of economic development. The easiest way to do it right now is to just obviously go through the room tonight.
Yeah.
Go through the room, have, fill everyone out through votes. If, like April mentioned, if there's something that someone really feels strongly about, we can definitely put it as a request to modification, regardless whether we do not support or not. Right, Angel? We can, whether we support or do not support, we can still request a modification, right? So either way, your voice will be heard. And this information does have to get to DCP, and they do have to read it and do something with it. So
Great.
let's continue.
Well, are we gonna do the 0 to 5 thing? I
I
kind
think
of
we
like that. Okay, great.
Yeah,
So if that's the case, then Eugene, 0 to 5?
5.
5, it's very,
Why?
it's that important? Okay. Can we do Vinny, 0 to 5?
I'm, just for clarification purposes with me, I'm pretty much 0 across the
Yeah.
board, because this is just, for me, it was just too much for me to delve into to really
Yeah.
get a real sense, so.
And are you the same?
Yes.
Like a 0?
I'll send
Yeah.
in my requested modifications before
Great.
the next
Yeah.
land use meeting, so at least we can.
I think tomorrow.
Right,
Open to go for corruption. That's all and I do not approve any zoning change of any kind.
Okay,
So
Some
that's
parts and everything.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
Okay.
They just don't agree, or they don't, or it's just too much to understand.
Which is
Right.
fair.
Okay. Simplified district types. All in support? I'm 1, you're 2, everyone else is no. So 2 in support. So then, Mark is 3.
So it's opposite of that.
So it's the opposite. Okay,
What did you land
Any
on?
specific-
What were the numbers you landed on?
3 and
so
6.
3 in support,
3 and
6,
6, got it.
and if there's any. 0 to 5, does anybody want?
Is anybody can share why there's so much opposition to this particular change?
I'm willing to ride with it.
Yeah, for me, it was more of it was too much, and I don't have a strong preference either way. So I'll vote where the team goes. If people feel strongly for their yeses, I also could be swayed. I felt less strongly about it.
I just didn't feel that this impacted us too much, since we don't have a lot of C1s and C2s. But if there's no requested modification for this one, then the vote is the vote.
Yep.
Okay. Small scale production. All in support? 1, 2, 3. Not in support? Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Eugene is not. 5.
I'm a no.
Okay, and then Mark, what is yours?
No.
Okay, so it's,
6-3, yeah.
is it 6-3 again? Is it 3 to 6
I
again?
lost count.
Who's in support? Who's in support?
Someone didn't go.
1, 2, 3, yeah, so it was 3 to 6. Loading docks in support? No one.
No, I'm in support. Hold on, I just didn't raise my hand. I got it. There we go.
So 1 to 5. 1.
Oh,
Yes,
I guess
1 to 8.
Eugene,
Well, he
you
said no across the board.
So 1 to
said
9.
no to everything.
1 to
Correct.
9.
Yeah.
1 to 9.
1 to 8,
1 to 8.
because it's 9 total.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 9, yeah.
Got some homework to do tonight.
Oh, because it's.
I'll be looking at you.
Just turn 9.
I prefer commercial. Oh,
Upper floor commercial. That's like they were talking about the restaurants and no support, no?
Nope.
And support? Yep. Everyone else? So 1 to 8,
Yeah, I do not support.
okay. Use terms.
So what exactly does that mean? Nobody knows.
It's an alignment thing. The national, there's new categorization for the different kinds of businesses that are in use. And they're not aligned with the 1961 New York City zoning code. So they're just trying to align it with national descriptors. It seems like it's mostly an organizational thing. It's not actually changing the zoning code per se.
Okay, so will that explain the different types of businesses?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to it as any kind of expert, but that's what it seems to be predominantly about. It's like they're just weird old, 60-year-old categories, and certain businesses don't fit into the categorization anymore. So as a result, you get all these kind of weird things that happen in terms of what things are allowed or not allowed when it's no longer aligned with any kind of universal organizational system.
In theory, sounds good. I support it.
I'll support that because we need to know.
Don't make me into the spokesperson for the DCP. I'm just saying this was one of the least controversial ones as far as I could tell.
You're it, pal.
Thank you.
I'll
Anyone
go
else
with that one.
support? 1,
Yes.
2, 3. So 3 in support, 6 not in support. Support 4 in support, 5 not support. Urban agriculture. Who's in support? 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm in support. Does anybody else share the concern that George brought up about, basically containers being used to grow marijuana on open lots?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
That's what
yeah,
I'm
when he
supporting.
stated that that was a possibility.
Right. So to me, I support it, but it's one of those conditions where they need to do something to not basically allow for more ease of use of growing and providing drugs, even legal drugs, into our community.
Supported with a requested modification.
To exclude cannabis or exclude.
Or it's got to be something that's got to look at what the agriculture is for. It's not just whether it's agriculture.
Right, so the requested modification should be a specific criteria set for agriculture that can be allowed, not just,
Look,
Yeah.
excluding any drug, any
right.
altering.
Substance.
No.
Yeah, I think that's
I could just see growing now in the East Harlem Plaza buildings, right? We'll have massive, where they used to be Target, now there'll be a pot farm, so.
Some space that meets the criteria over 1,000 square feet. Now, we got enough for those smoke shops over here already, right?
So it feels like we're all in support except for Eugene strongly, not in
No,
support.
I'm not
anything?
supporting that either.
Okay, so then let's do the vote. Urban agriculture, support
Support with the modification.
with the modification.
I'll go with that.
Modifications, yes.
6, 7. So, and the modification is, Sharon?
Law oversight for mind and mood altering substances.
Mind and mood altering substances.
Right. So that's no cannabis, no mushrooms, nothing that is.
No modeling.
And no anything else that's yet to be determined.
Alters my mind.
No, we 7 in support, Angel, and 2 not in support.
For wholesale.
I am so scared.
Life sciences. How many in support? 3, 4, 5,
With support.
6, and 3 not in support.
I think, just so you know, I know Jessica must have left the call. She did not support it in her commentary, which was one of the few things she didn't support, so.
Nightlife, support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Wow.
6 in support, 3 not in support.
Yeah, I do not support.
Okay.
And I would like to offer a modification similar to the garden.
Okay.
Right, because we already have a lot of activity without a lot of oversight. So to add a specific nightlight to this, I mean, are we gonna have like a red light district so that it is in one district? And I mean, like, can we do it like in Amsterdam, like there's a space that happens so that children who go to school or older people or people who don't wanna be affected. So I need a little bit of modification.
Okay.
That's what I would look for. I don't know how anybody else feel.
Just so you know, I don't entirely trust the DCP, but in their question and answer session, that question was asked. And they said that any kind of sex-oriented business would still require licensure under a very different set of rules. And therefore, this change doesn't necessarily allow for now there to be peep shows and other things going on where there wouldn't have otherwise been allowed before. Not so that isn't what they're saying this change would produce.
But there's also like
We can make a
paint
request for
bucket piece,
modification. Yeah.
right?
That's-
Like on 3rd and 112th. That, you know, like I could see that also, like if drugs are a concern of ours in general, like you can have a bunch of paint puff and pieces in like a district or whatever, so we're trying to prevent
Right.
against that as well,
Right.
not just the peep shows, Mark. Although I appreciate that clarification.
So your modification would be?
More oversight and structure.
So oversight to nightlife.
Nightlife, right. Yeah, how nice.
Consider it, would consider it oversight to like a considerate amount or like, is that what you mean, or just like?
So you guys are not worried about the oversaturation of more and more nightlife activities in some of these residential commercial areas? Because I know the DCP wants to sound like, well, it's already happening, they just can't dance. But there's a very big difference between nightclubs that are oriented towards nightlife and bars or restaurants that have music.
So he's a 5 on that.
Well, I'm just saying that they're trying to make it sound like, oh, that's the only change. It's like they can now dance and we can have a comedy club. You know, they're talking about, you know, a much different kind of nightlife scene than theoretically is currently allowed in a lot of residential commercial properties. And it just seems to me that the neighborhood's already kind of saturated to a certain extent with that kind of energy. But I mean,
I mean,
I worry about residents.
I don't think our building stock supports the kind of like scaled nightlife that would maybe be a concern, right? Like we have storefronts and small restaurants and things like that. So I actually do think that in our case, at least, the nightlife act or the change would indeed be the whole dancing and food in the same place or whatever it is that weird rule was. If we had a bunch of like giant warehouses, like let's say we were Bushwick or something, I'd be like, absolutely not. But like, as it is, we wouldn't be attractive, honestly, to the type of like nightlife that takes over a kind of neighborhood.
That would
I don't
be-
think.
Yeah, same thing.
So I agree, but there is possibility of, you know, the place next to, or this place, right? You could have a bar in here, right? A bar this size, or a restaurant like yours, right? And all of a sudden you decide to have dancing, right? If you're gonna dance, the music has to go up louder, right? That's gonna be permissible everywhere, right? Within, you know, and the only control is the amount of people you can have in there per your space, right? So the public can sign the permit. So that could end up, you know, like if you think a loud bar is annoying, a loud bar with dance is gonna be really annoying. So that's a reality. Don't throw anything, but the reality of planning is you plan with, you know, with certain intentions, and then there are things that happen that weren't your intention, right? So like, the reason I react the way I react when people say that there's a lot going on here, there isn't. Like, I'm from Washington Heights. It is loud all the time, and we sleep through it, right? But whatever, but it's very loud, right? And you could, with the flip of a switch, all of a sudden have that kind of stuff going on, which is, like we're Latino, we're people of color, we like making noise, we just right now we're restricted. And once those restrictions are down, then you have to start dealing with those issues. And I can attest personally to knowing this particular building had no music, and then the rules changed, and then there was music, and you're trying to live above this thing, right? So maybe a modification could be, and, restricting it to, or restricting certain, like, an area that's fully residential to say no. Like, some people think that all of these apartments are residential, that's inaccurate. Wherever there's a commercial overlay, that's commercial.
Well, we
Right.
still have the Applebee's, right?
Right.
So if somebody wanted to open the Applebee's and have a
It could
strip
be,
club.
well, it probably won't be a strip club, but it could be a dance club, right? But that's a good, that block is a good example. That block is a good example where, that hasn't been converted to a club yet, but there is that lounge there. And a lot of the complaints that we got were from residents of that block that is otherwise just dead silent. That was otherwise dead silent, and now all of a sudden it isn't. So in situations like that, you add in, like, you legalize that use, that's gonna start popping up all over the place. So you're on Pleasant Avenue, right? That's probably the quietest block we have, right? It's gonna get loud, right? You're on 15th off of Pleasant past Rails, it's gonna get loud. So like, maybe that's a restriction to consider.
That was my thought.
So with the modification could be, any property that's all residential or highly residential should be.
Which is all the property.
Exactly.
Right, like that's kind of what we're saying though.
Yeah.
Or we just don't support it.
Yeah, should we do a revote? You can do a revote.
'Cause I'm with Angel on this one.
Oh, that's number 9, right?
Yeah, okay.
I'm just saying, be aware, I actually want the nightlife to come here.
Yeah. Angel.
But, no, listen, like, for the same reason that Eugene explains as cultural district, like, those are jobs, right?
You'd be surprised how many people, ask me about, like,
Where can I dance? Where can I dance?
There's no more salsa here, there's no more, even though of course there is, because we have like, at Barrio Space that said First Friday, but people, they wanna dance.
That's not-
Yeah, they want hard work, week, and they wanna go out and let it out, and it's healthy.
It just attracts, to me, it like just magnifies, just awareness of the neighborhood. It's like when we put the skate park in Thomas Jefferson, it's like all the skaters started coming, but then the park started to be populated, and it's not all skateboarders, but like, it just kind of like brings a certain amount of like energy to the neighborhood. And so I'd like to see the same type of energy here so that the current businesses can
I don't think we're
get
gonna
that,
become like a Dykeman or something.
Dude,
yeah.
Become a Dykeman just.
listen, so no one asked, but Little Angel, I was there all the time. That was the boring block where you would there was a bar in the corner of Broadway, and a block after there was a grocery store, and then it was a desert until you got to the park. That's where I was headed, right? Like, there wasn't a marina when I was younger, there was a marina, but nobody went, right? Like people with boats, but, and you got your bar, whatever, and you walked to the park, there was nothing there, and now, yo, it's fun if you're young, but you're older. And there's all those people that live there, how they still live there, I do not know. Cause that's like straight up, South Beach.
On your quality of life.
Yo.
And it's gonna have a big impact on a lot of folks.
Yeah,
It's
I've
like
danced a
fairly
lot.
binary, right? It's like, it's kind of like I don't see a way to modify it in a way that like regulates it other than, I don't know, imposing some sort of noise decibel level, which is
I think
like.
they already kind of, right, like if you call through.
Yeah, nobody's doing it.
Exactly.
Can't enforce
Exactly. So it's either kind of like,
That's not important.
So we can't suggest any limitations per square or like maybe two dance halls per square
oh, I
block.
like that. That's a good modification.
You understand?
Yeah.
Like, can we suggest limitations to how many can be on one block or
The
10 blocks?
concentration.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
great.
how many are in support of nightlife?
Okay.
So it's one,
With the
two,
modification.
3, 4, 5, 6, with the modification, and the modification is
limitations how did you put it?
Limitations, it's on like density,
Not oversaturation,
yeah.
prevent
that's
oversaturation.
how it works. Limitation on the concentration of the saturation.
Don't ask me for work.
On the concentration of, of how many.
She got it right.
Those venues.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so limitation.
Per square mile. Venues in square mile, yeah. Per square mile.
Oversaturation.
There you go.
It's a
Harlem is what?
There you
East
go.
Harlem's what, 4.2 miles, right?
Did you get that, Andrew? Limitations.
That's a
fact.
That's the geographics, I'm the.
So limits to prevent oversaturation.
Yeah.
I'm still opposed, but that does make it better.
I was poetic.
What was the vote?
6-3. Okay, how many people like roller coasters? Okay, amusement.
Isn't that nightlife?
You like roller?
No.
How many people are in
No.
support? Support
Amusement.
Oh.
Not sure
of amusement.
Can you remind me that one? I'm sorry, I don't.
Is that the one that attached with casinos?
No.
No
No,
way.
no, it's not casinos. It's like escape rooms and carnival rides and other kinds of fun things to do.
Nightlife
Have to be inside.
Different
Yes,
application.
things for kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Kids don't have it.
For the kids, guys.
It's not just for the kids, but
I was hoping we have empire. Skate park would be nice.
Okay, so stick and support. Right now it's support.
What was the number?
Six and 3.
6-3, got it. Home occupations.
Home occupations. What is that? Oh, yeah, work from home. How many in support? Six and 3. Mark, are you voting yes unless you?
no, I'm
speak
voting
up?
no. I'm waiting for you to say no support.
Oh. Oh, no,
Oh,
I'm
we're sorry,
assuming,
yeah.
I'm assuming unless you're in support, you're in non-support.
Yes, I am not in support, though I could support it with a modification.
What would the modification look like?
Okay, so this is the one where they don't have they don't have anything in this proposal about how you're protecting the residents of these places where the home businesses get bigger from increased traffic, from noise, from odors. This is something that they just think that somehow this is not going to create more disruption for the residents who are already living there. And there's no way. You're making businesses bigger. That means they're going to have more customers, they're going to have more employees, they're going to have more activity. And it's like as if they're just ignoring the obvious. So, and I think current enforcement of these things is uneven, to say the least. So unless they put in some more protections that really speak to how they're going to handle that, it seems to me you're just going to end up with more people living in buildings more disrupted by their neighbor's business. As if somehow it's like they just don't want to. They want to pretend like that's not going to happen.
I actually think this is actually the one that I'm most in support of, because if there's anything that helps economic development, is giving people the opportunity to make extra money without carrying the cost of a storefront, getting a lawyer for a lease, putting down the 2 months deposit. I mean, I don't know what the intricacies exactly would be of getting your home and running it, what costs would incur and at that point, but I think that that's great for our type of community, because working 9 to 5 and not being able to get another job to support your family, whether you're taking care of kids, mom, parents, grandparents, it's a lot, and life is very expensive. And I think that if you give people, let's say the lady that, loves to do hair, but obviously can't survive on just that, or can't open up her own hair salon, can now, operate from her apartment and still keep her other job and make ends meet and maybe some extra. So I actually like this most.
Yeah, I agree with you. The problem is they're not differentiating between what kinds of businesses and what those businesses will do. So for example, a dog kennel. I love dogs, right? But right now, you can't really run a dog kennel in your apartment because you have 25% of your apartment has to be used when you have one employee. Now you can have 3 and 49% of your apartment. So all of a sudden, now you can be running a larger dog kennel. And if we don't think that's going to affect the neighbors with the dogs barking, it will. And that's my point. It's like there's no protection against what the business is doing and how it's disrupting the other residents on the floor. I 100% agree with you. It is a great engine for economic growth, but there has to be some respect for the other residents in the building who didn't ask for this business to be next door to them making a lot of noise.
Can the modification be something like, create thresholds for businesses at scale?
Yeah, that something along the line of there's got to be some recognition that not all businesses are at the same level of disruption to their neighbors.
Right, it's just hard, Mark, it's just hard to do that just because metrics for businesses are different. So what would you do, like a revenue threshold? In that case, somebody who, I don't know, is an architect working from their home, charging a huge amount of money with, you know what I mean? Like it's hard to say like what those limits are, what those limits could be. And I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
No, I agree with you that they spent a lot of years in developing these things. They should have come up with some kind of metric or some kind of structure instead of just, in my opinion, ignoring it. But now they're leaving it to us to come up with a restriction that needs to be very nuanced. And
So
I don't
can we
have
just
to that.
create something like create metrics for disruptive uses?
Right.
I don't know.
Disruptive. Because I find it hard to believe that maybe businesses like that, like the one you mentioned, aren't gonna be required some type of soundproofing or, you know, like, right, like that, and that definitely has to fall on like also the building, right? Like the building has to.
The
require-
landlord would have some take issue to a dog kennel being in business as opposed to say, a art therapist using her apartment as a business. I would think the landlord would really have to step in, not only for that tenant, but for all the tenants in the building for multiple reasons.
Yeah, I was just using that as an example, but there's probably lots of others. And the landlords can actually, condos, co-ops, and places with leases are allowed to actually put term in the leases to prevent things from certainly happening. It's just
So
that.
Mark, do you have suggested language for the required modification? If not, I think we should probably move on.
Okay, I put something in my response, but it's not necessarily language that would be a specific change. I don't have the skill set or the knowledge to know exactly how to change it.
Okay, so I think we should probably move on. If you wanna, I mean, I think we're open. If you wanna suggest something concrete, you can circle back, but otherwise, it's hard to know how to move forward. Is that okay?
Mark, if you come up with something by the end of the meeting, let us know. If not, we are 6 and 3 in support of home occupations.
Yep.
Streetscape. Support.
Yeah.
So nobody.
Mark, are you in support of?
I'm in favor. I'm in favor. I'm trying to flash back and forth between a whole bunch of stuff. So it's
tough. We
I'm in
know.
favor.
So it's 8-1. No.
Or 1 to 8.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, H1, no, you're exactly right.
It's 8-1, okay.
It's 1 to 8.
It's 1 to 8.
We're reading this way.
I'm the only one who supports that one. Okay, this is fascinating.
I think the only modification is no more bike lanes.
Oh,
Yeah, no more bike lanes,
So 8 of you are against the streetscape change.
Yes.
Why?
Can we go on to the next one?
We talk about.
All right, never mind. Never mind.
Okay, so 1 in support, 8 not in support.
Yeah.
Auto repair. In support. No way.
Mark, are you in for support?
I'm in support. Yes, I'm in support. Obviously, I'm out of sync with the rest of you, but that's, I guess, okay.
Emissions be damned.
Say that again?
1 in support, 7 not in support.
I mean, I did express concern about what the impact with congestion pricing on our neighborhood is going to be, and having more businesses in the neighborhood that have to do with the endpoint of private car trips is an issue.
Yeah, and carbon emissions, that's my concern.
Just 1 each or 1/7?
1 each,
One
because it's
each.
9 of us, I keep.
Yeah,
forgetting
okay,
just
all right.
us.
Micro distribution.
Micro distribution,
How many?
micro distribution. In support? 1, 2, Mark, you're in support?
I'm in support.
Okay, so 2.
Must be the minority.
I don't feel
My word. 2 to 7, Angel. Campus commercial,
Campus commercial.
in support?
Hold on. Thank God, I can't do this back and forth. No, I do not support that. Do not support that.
Okay, so no one supports it.
Not without some kind of community board or some other agency's approval.
Corner stores, in support?
Well,
We didn't get really advice.
Yes.
Yeah.
First order support. I support the next 3.
Mark supports the next 3, guys, 16, 17, and 18.
5 in support and 4 not in support for corner streets or corner stores. Better waiver process.
No on all of these.
No.
Sure.
New loft style district. In support? Mark said he's in support.
Yeah, he did
I am in support.
A better waiver process, new loft styles and corner store, so it's just 1 support for those last 3. And 8 not.
Cool.
Next. Thanks, guys.
9:26, not to be in nudge, but yeah.
Yeah.
Your business?
April Autry, Mark Bogursky,
Here.
Christina Johnson,
Here.
Sharon Lynch, Giselle Malave, Eugene Rodriguez.
Here.
Jenny Torres,
Here.
Jenny Tromsky, Emery Vasquez.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul. Meeting adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Need a motion.
Oh, sorry.
Adjourn.